I'm not quite sure, but they haven't said.
Well, I ask.
Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to live coverage of round 7 of the 2012 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Trophy. And we're back. Thank you for joining us. If you have missed us, then apologies, we've been on a 4-week break, but we are back and the racing action starts right here again on simrace.tv. And we're here at the Hungaroring in Budapest in Hungary. And it's going to be a fantastic race weekend, I'm sure. I'm Scott Woodward, by the way. Alongside me is my co-commentator, James Tucker. Reno Room's also doing our broadcast cameras today. So, James, just describe some of the challenges that some of the drivers are going to face here in Hungary.
Well, the Hungaroring is a very short, twisty and high downforce circuit, which means it's very hard to pass. It's been called Monaco without the walls, which can get drivers really frustrated, can wear their tyres down. It really is a big challenge for these drivers. So what's key is qualifying, getting a nice grid position, getting away at the start, and also pit strategy in order to make your passes today.
Absolutely. Well, the Hungaroring circuit is itself. It's 3.975 kilometres, 13 turns, and it's absolutely. Oh no, I correct me. I'm looking at the old ones on there. It's 4.381 kilometres. Apologies for that. 16 turns, and it's it can produce some exciting race at some cases, but it depends on what kind of race series you're watching. If you're watching us now. We are just about, I think we're still in practice at the moment, we're just waiting for qualifying to come through. We can run you through the top 10 as it stands at the moment in terms of practice. At the moment, it is Villa Lapala, the only man in 117s at the moment for go speed, and that is a 117.8. And as I say that, the race director is now passing us through to qualifying. So the format for this is basically simple. We have I believe it's a 25-minute, to determine the 10 fastest drivers. And then those 10 will then go into a 5-minute shootout where they can all go out on track at once and they have one single chance to take pole position. Now, we've got drivers already lining up at the end of the pit lane. We've got, I believe, one of your friends, Jonathan Holmes, is up there for SJ Racing, a brand new team as far as I'm aware. Oops, and I think Peter Burlack, just watching him into the pit lane, has just broken his front wing on the back of Sami Passari's car and gave it a slight nudge. But the car's now heading out. For this, well, that's actually a 10-minute session. I do apologise. I thought it was 25. Apologies for that. But a couple of bits of news that I've picked up on. One thing I have noticed is that pretty much the star driver of the race last time out at Silverstone, which unfortunately you wouldn't have seen because of the unfortunate technical difficulties that we suffered, and that caused us to have the broadcast as a bit of a radio show rather than the actual visual broadcast. One of the stars of that race was Hungarian driver Zoltán Suti. Now, he was driving for Netrex Neapolis. He has been moved up to the top team in the World Trophy, which is the Netrex Junior team. And he is up there, and he's already out there on track doing his thing at the moment. And I have to admit, from what we saw, James, Zoltan's definitely one of the drivers to watch in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps up to somewhere near World Series or even a World Championship car in some cases in the near future.
Yeah, it really was an incredible performance in his first ever race, and he'll certainly be looking for an even better performance, going one better than that second place today at his home race. Really exciting to watch new drivers like this come into the FSR series, and hopefully he does very well. I think he will.
Let's just touch on the driver behind him. As we said, he's a friend of yours, Jonathan Holmes, of the new team SJ Racing. Just for some of the some of the viewers that don't know much about him, just give us a bit of an insight as to what kind of driver he's like and what you know about him.
Well, I raced with him in a few series. He's wasn't expecting to do well today, but it looks like he's doing fine, just outside the top 10. Got Sliders TV sponsorship on his car, which is my YouTube channel, and so I'm really happy about seeing him in Grid 1, because I hope lots of drivers see that rear wing today.
Like you say, he's done exceptionally well getting himself into the main race for this afternoon. In fact, just moving out the way of some of the drivers there. He is the only SJ Racing car in the field for Group 1. Group 2 are going to be racing, obviously, off air after this broadcast is finished. we get some of the other drivers that come through. I can see there's another driver in the AC Racing development team, and that is a Bastien Gauthier, I believe that's his name. He is, I believe, the French driver, from what I can see of his nationality. If that is wrong, apologies for that, but he's in there for AC Racing development, and I believe he is taking the place, or I think he's taking the place of, it looks like possibly, maybe Marshall Thomas, because I can't see him, oh no, apologies, he's in there, but he's in the FSR General car, so it looks like possibly that Marshall Thomas is either a free agent now or something in AC Racing development, but he is now been replaced, or his place has been taken by Gauthier, and he's actually out there on track at the moment, currently 19th, but he's coming to the end of the third sector. As you say, that time's going to start to come in thick and fast. Currently top now is at the moment Antonio Kolarek, 1 minute 18.820, just ahead of Fran Schneider for Flying Fins. Nick Fisher's just popped up, and now Marshall Thomas gets in there in second place in 1:18.889. So this is a circuit, as you said, it's very hard on brakes as well. It's also a circuit that, as a track temperature, can be very, very humid, so that can obviously have a major effect on tyre wear.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with all the corners, because there's only about 50% of the lap is actually spent on the throttle. Most of the lap is spent in the corners, which definitely affects the tyres, and especially when you're following other cars as much as you are around this circuit, it certainly makes it very hard.
Also, just noting that Ghost Speed have changed chassis. If you look at Ghost Speed Racing team now, they have made an upgrade. And obviously this mod runs 4 different chassis. It runs the Red Bull, the Williams, the Ferrari, and the Braun GP car. Now, as we were running the Ferrari chassis, they have now changed to the Red Bull chassis, and hopefully they're hoping this car will give them a bit more speed in terms of outright pace. Also, I think we can mention on the circuit that it is a very narrow circuit, so overtaking opportunities are few and far between. In fact, I think you probably agree, James, that the best overtaking opportunity on this circuit is in fact the run down towards first corner. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see quite a lot of carnage going into turn 1 this afternoon.
Yeah, especially on the start, it should be absolutely crazy, because the start is where you really need to blitz it to try and make up as many positions as possible, especially if you had a poor qualifying. Definitely look out for turn 1 in the start, and also the run down to turn 2. If you can hold it around the outside on turn 1, then you'll have the inside for turn 2. So that's really key move for race.
It does appear that we've had some technical problems and we have lost connection to the service. If that's the case, then apologies for that. We do tend to get 1 or 2 technical glitches here with FSR and with any sim racing series. It's obviously expected. I suppose we can fill whilst they're trying to get the servers back up. In terms of the race last time out, we'll pull you out, just give you a rundown of the championship positions and also the results from the last race. Looking back at Silverstone, it was Peter Burlap with another victory, only 9.3 seconds ahead of the magnificent Sultan Suti with a fantastic performance in the net wrecking Apple's car. Tommy Nilsson was 3rd for GT Mega Race, and I think that was his 2nd podium in a row. He could make it 3 in quick succession if he's able to succeed today. Villa Lapala was 4th for Ghost Speed Racing. I believe he actually even started on pole position. Yes, he did. I believe he started pole position. Then we had Canabasol in 5th place for GS Pro Engineering. They're rounding out the top 10 in order with Mark Alberts, Armando Mora, Sebastian Filosa, Jed Fedema and Nico Suokas. Some of the top drivers that went out early, I think Mo Salvaraja was definitely a top driver as well, as was Marshall Thomas. I mean, judging from the form which the top drivers showed in Silverstone, it looks as though possibly that the main contender seems to be Peter Burlak. I mean, he's won all but I think 1 race so far this season, so you'd definitely be a pretty stupid man to bet against him for this year's championship, wouldn't you, James?
Yeah, absolutely. That race he didn't win, actually, he was taken out by Martin Thomas, who was a lap down trying to unlap himself, so even that one he should have won. So certainly Peter Burlak is looking strong, but Zoltan Suti certainly brought a challenge to him at Silverstone. But he did look supreme. He actually spun out during the race and still went on to win. It's a terrible shame that none of you could see that, because it really was an absolutely incredible drive from Peter Burlak at Silverstone.
Absolutely. If you remember back in Canada, we had those incredible scenes where Marshall Thomas tried to bizarrely unlap himself, and that in turn caused him to make contact with Peter Burlak, and then the repercussions from that caused him to run off the circuit, broke off his front wing and his left front wheel, and as a result of that, Zerla came through and took his first ever win in FSR. Now, obviously Peter Burlak now responded with that and managed to grab himself a win. In terms of who's looking strong today, you'd have to say the usual suspects like Burlak and Zuti, but one crucial question is, do you think Zuti has what it takes this afternoon to win his home Grand Prix, and what's only his second World Trophy race in FSR in total?
I think he absolutely has what it takes, and I think the fact that it's his home Grand Prix is going to motivate him even more. This is a real good chance to impress, to maybe get a World Series drive later in the season, and I think he's certainly going to grab it with both hands. Starts now in qualifying, so we'll see what he can do, but he seems pretty fast. Although, having said that, Lapala, who got the pole last time in Silverstone, as you said, is actually topping the timesheets at the moment, so that's very impressive from him.
Well, looking at Zoltan Suti, he's only managed a 1:19.193, and that's only put him 12th quickest at the moment, so he definitely needs to step up a little bit. Maybe he was probably more comfortable on a circuit that's more wide and flowing and like Silverstone, especially with that arena section in the middle. Now he's on a more twisty circuit. Maybe he's struggling a little bit. Do you think possibly that could be a factor, that there are certain circuits that he fares at better than others?
Well, that's the thing. We've only seen him in one race, so we don't really know that much about him. We're busy singing his praises. We seem to have some more technical issues. We're busy singing his praises, and we've only seen him in one race, so we don't know how he actually will perform. Maybe he just loves the Silverstone circuit. I certainly hope he should do well today, but I guess we'll see.
Well, we are still waiting for the server to come back. Apologies that it hasn't come back up yet. If it is back up yet, I think we're not in it just yet. I can see a lot of in the actual server. I've been seeing a lot of our drivers trying to get back in. So I hope we can bring the pictures to you as soon as possible. Apologies for the technical problems that we are having, should we say. Let's quickly, whilst we've got this break as well, trying to get everything back sorted again, let's try and bring you through the current championship standings as they are at the moment. So we've got Peter Ballack on top with 266 points, and he has a quite sizable, I'm trying to work out my maths on the spot, looks like a 137 point lead on Villa Lapala, with Tommy Nilsson in third with 110. Because Lapala has 129 for the record. Giovanni Ullman fourth with 103 points. Then it's Canabasso, the first of the drivers outside 700 points with 73 points. Then we have a literally three-way tie for sixth between Danny van der Neet, Maximilian Melamed and Johannes Kunkel. Kunkel, to bear in mind, is the only driver from Precision Motorsport in World Trophy, and he is the team boss as well. They are all on 73 points respectively, but Danny van der Neet is up there in sixth himself in that order. Then Todor Vasilev, the Bulgarian, is only 2 points behind that trio, 71 points, and Andres Nilsson is actually tying for 10th with Mark Albert, the second Go Speed Racing driver car, and he is there with 68 points. They're literally, those two are literally only just 2 points ahead of Armando Mora back in 12th with 66 points. So it definitely seems to be that the main competition will be, even though Peter Belt looks as though he's away with the championship and taking it, it looks as though the main kind of competition is going to be behind the kind of lower ranks of the top 10. And so there's going to be some fantastic racing in this as we move into the second half of the season.
Yeah, unless something really unprecedented happens and Burlak has an awful problem, I can't really see anyone catching him, to be honest. I mean, Lapala is looking strong. That pole last time out of Silverstone, before that the win in Canada. But certainly the main that in this game would be perhaps the second place between Lapala, Nielsen and Granny Almond. And also, like you said, that three-way tie for sixth place is really interesting. Also, of course, the Constructors' Championship is looking quite interesting too.
Well, we do have the server back up, so I'm just myself and James just going to quickly jump back in so we can actually see exactly what is going out on track. Quick look at the live timings of what is going on. I do believe the session has finished, I believe. Well, at least that, or they're just getting back in to restart. I believe they'll restart the session to make it fair. Also, whilst we're trying to get back in, we'll quickly run down the Teams Championship. At the moment, Twister Racing currently have a 90-point lead. I believe, well, it looks like, well, no, not quite, kind of an it's more like an 80-point lead, I think. Yes, no, so it is 90-point lead, apologies for that. 90-point lead on Ghost Speed Racing in second, then we've got GT Omega just behind in third with 225. NetRex Junior sit fourth with 130, then ATR 113. Very close, only 5 points between GS Pro Engineering and Silverline, as they sit 6th and 7th, and they're rounding out the top 10 in terms of teams. We've got GS Racing with 89, Precision Motorsports with 73, of course. Only one car that's the only points they've ever actually scored, and NetRex Minneapolis jumped up to 10th after Suzuki's fantastic effort in Silverstone to go with 65 points. I do believe we are back. Oh, I thought we were back in the server, but it looks like we've been kicked out again, so I think we're having one or two problems. But in terms of expectations for the sample race, we said that Zoltan Suti could be a dark horse and take the red win today. Obviously, Bert looking strong. Are there any other drivers that are impressing you so far at the moment, James, that could possibly be a dark horse for at least a podium this afternoon, or at least a decent haul of points?
Well, certainly the Parler is looking strong, and I think he's definitely a outside shot for the win. Having said that, there's plenty of guys who really could do it. It's just about stringing the perfect race weekend together. Andreas Nielsen was actually missing from the last race in Silverstone. That's Peter Verlak's Twister Racing teammate, so perhaps if he makes a comeback, did you see him in the server? Perhaps if he makes a comeback, he can perhaps try something. He did very well in the first race of the season in Australia.
Well, the only time we actually ever had a race, if you like, red flagged in FSR was last year for the Grand Prix in the World Championship, and obviously they had to reschedule the race another time. So I think this possibly won't get that problem again. It's kind of problems of a different kind. But it's not that we can't give you pictures, because we can. If we have a server to get into, that's the entire problem. But still, we're just waiting to try and get through. So, but of course, you can kind of keep up to what's going on with FSR. Of course, you have the website. We have www.formula-simracing.net. They always post kind of recaps of every race on there as well. Of course, you can follow our YouTube channel as well. Search for Formula Sim Racing, and you can obviously always bring you highlights packages, fantastic highlights packages put together by Sam Adebisi. He also provides the voiceovers for them as well. Fantastic editors, and I urge you all to check those out. If you haven't checked out what's gone on with the rest of the World Championship Series so far, of course I do, obviously the best thing to do is to go and check that out and get yourself up to date for tomorrow's World Championship race. But just a reminder of that, it's going to be Liam Kings and Nick Rowland are going to be the main commentators, and myself will be a pit reporter and bring you as much information as I can. Just a reminder, of course, we do have a World Series race, of course, tonight. It's going to be at 8 o'clock. Undecided who the commentators are going to be. Could be possibly James here. He's going to be taking the lead role with a couple of the commentators, but that's all to be decided later on. That's going to be at 8 o'clock GMT, and then the actual race itself tomorrow for the World Championship is going to be roughly round about, I'd say 3-4 o'clock. So obviously we have the actual schedules on the FSR website, to go and check those out, of course. Just trying to find something to fill here whilst we're doing it. I may as well give a quick shout out to our sponsors, of course, for Formula Sim Racing. We have, of course, Thrustmaster, the title sponsor, so thank you very much for their continued support. RC.net as well. Race Department, of course, for hosting our current forums, our main forums. And, of course, SimRace.tv for allowing us to go ahead and broadcast the races live to bring to you here. And, of course, we can set up the SimSync Pro, of course, to provide the mod that we can all use. Just going to try and wait and see if we can get a server back up. If you are just joining us, don't worry. We are hopefully going to have a race. I've had one or two problems with the server at the moment for today's Hungarian Grand Prix. It's not back up yet as far as I can see. The server having problems, James, do you think it's going to have an effect at all psychologically on the drivers? Because, of course, some don't seem to be too fussed about it, but in other drivers, do you think possibly, if they're getting a bit frustrated, obviously, because the server's not going back up, do you think that will have an effect going into qualifying and then the race?
Well, for sure, extra waiting just prolongs the tension, prolongs the suspense, and some of the drivers who are a bit more highly strung might be really getting annoyed at this, because they want to get out there, they want to get qualifying over and done with, and they want to get onto the race. Especially if you have anything, I mean, sim racing perhaps isn't everyone's life. Perhaps some people want to get on and do other things, but we'll see, because nothing seems to be happening. We kept joining and then it kept crashing again, which is a bit of a shame.
Well, obviously, you know, it's sim racing. Some people it's a way of life, but of course, other people have other commitments and other things to get to. And of course, now our sim racers, of course, do have a life outside the virtual racetrack. But whilst the way
really?
Surprised, I think some of us do. I think it's quite hard to believe. So there is one of those pictures where it shows what others think and what society thinks that people sim racers do, and what they actually do. I think if you've probably seen that, or if we've seen that about, then
I think I've seen one like that, yeah.
pictures. But it's nonetheless, it's yes, us sim racers do have a life outside the virtual racetrack, as I said. So
wow.
it's surprising. It's hard to believe for some people, but
I'm not sure I have a life outside commentary.
I know it's something I'm trying to aim to do in the future, and obviously something like this helps. Of course, trying to fill in the gaps whilst we have technical problems. You have to think on your feet, as we are trying to do now. I wonder if we can quickly also give you some results from what happened in last year's World Trophy race, as far as I can see. It was the Englishman Ben Tusting for GT America. Of course, he's not racing, of course, anymore in the series. He finished second ahead of Lil Lapala, interestingly enough, and Andreas Nilsson was third. Mark Albert's fourth. Philip Pushka, who is now a World Championship driver, I believe with Ash Racing, he was fifth for Revolution Motorsports, ahead of Marcel van der Linden, another FSR World Championship driver as well. He was sixth ahead of Dejan Kostodanov, and then and then with Benjamin Chong eighth. Rob van Starkenburg, again another exceptional World Championship driver who's made a step up to the big time, and Juna Lepainen was 12th for GS Pro Engineering. Any notable retirements that we had down there was Edward Malorkey was a retirement from that race. He was retired out on lap 10, it looks like, for error F1. That was quite unfortunate for him. Also, Peter Burlak retired. He was then driving for Netrex Academy. He retired on lap 24, so that was quite unfortunate. Hopefully, he'll have some better luck this afternoon. I hope we'll have some better luck actually trying to get Soma back up as well, because it's probably a little bit uneventful in terms of just listening to myself and James commentate. So, but I mean, let's just give a quick insight, James. Obviously, now you've seen a couple of races, and of course, in terms of the level of competition. Just some views you've never seen FSR before. Just describe just how the level of competitiveness there is in the FSR series across the board. It's one of the most well-renowned sim racing series out there, and it's definitely one where there's always close competition because the cars are so evenly matched.
Yeah, absolutely, and it also means the best drivers do come to the fore, because people wonder why, for instance, Bono Ruiz wins all the time in World Championship, but since he's just such a great driver, these equally matched cars really allow drivers like him to get the best out of the car and win. So, although it's very closely matched, we do often see repeat winners, and it should be really interesting to see the World Series race. I think is generally the most competitive. From what I've seen, maybe before this year, I only ever used to watch World Championship. I wasn't really interested in the other two. Now I've come to commentate on them. I know that they're really, really good. But certainly World Series seems to stand out as a really competitive league, and also World Trophy is really really interesting, certainly in the midfield, because all these guys want to get up the front, they want to impress, and they want to move up through the ranks, and that's the real motivation that these guys have to race, and to race really hard to win.
Well, I do believe that the server is now back up, and we've got some of the drivers starting to file in again. Fingers crossed that we don't get any more problems. Obviously, it did crash as soon as we tried to get back in last time, so hopefully we can get some pictures to you again with the cars going out. We have probably some cars out there already, and I can see Nick Fisher's out for ATR development, as is... Who else is out there on track? I think he's probably the only one out on track, I think, as they start to filter back in. So... hopefully you are seeing some pictures on screen. If not, you will do hopefully very shortly. We have our main broadcast for SimRace.tv in the server at the moment. And looking through some of the drivers, got some of the drivers such as I'm trying to fill here. I think possibly Galbert's car possibly could be a dark horse today. Of course, it'd be interesting to see. Just a quick note on Ghost. We said about changing chassis. Do you think it's going to take? Obviously, they'll have had time to test offline with the chassis. Do you think possibly it could improve their chances to get themselves a bit up more near the front? 'Cause it's the same chassis the Twister runs, so obviously you can see how successful that chassis has been in terms of with that combination of team and driver and chassis. Do you think that the change in chassis will help Go Speedy? Do you think it's possibly going to be something that will maybe hinder them because it's a new chassis they haven't really run before?
Well, even if it's not faster, as you probably hope, since they have all the different chassis, they want to make it fair for all the teams. Even if it's not any faster, certainly breaking the mold, doing something different, could be that sort of that little kick they need to be faster and to perhaps go out and win some races. Just the different feel really could appeal to their drivers and could help them out. However, having said that, it could work the other way. Maybe they won't like it, and maybe it'll be a complete flop. We'll just have to wait and see.
It looks like they were going to restart qualifying. That's probably the only fair thing to do. We're about 5 minutes into the session, so that is the only fair thing to do. So again, we'll recap what's going to happen in qualifying if we can get through a whole session without it crashing, which is fingers crossed that's going to happen. It'll be a 10-minute session. All out there, do as many laps as you want to do. Fastest lap, obviously, the fastest lap, of course, in practice, the fastest 10, I should say, will go through to the 5-minute shootout. One single lap, they can all go out at the same time. Pick your moment, and of course whoever's fastest will, of course, obviously have pole position. I'm currently looking at Giovanni Allman out there in 7th in that new Go Speed car. We've got Nick Fisher just trundling behind him. And looking out there, we've got some drivers. I think Nick Fisher with the first one 2 set at times. He was the first one out on track. And now coming around the final corner, maybe we can keep track exactly how he's doing. He's on the pit straight now. Time he puts in initially 1:19.689. I don't think it's going to be enough to get him to pole position, and he promptly slams the car into the wall, which is probably inconvenient. And Tommy Nilsson just avoids him as Fisher escapes the pits. And of course, these times won't count at all for anything because we are going to get back into qualifying. So just trying to fill some more on this one, and if you guys think you possibly you can have a go in the World Trophy or the World Series or even the World Championship, you will have to go ahead first of all to register on the Formula Sim Racing forums. You can go to Race Department, go to the R Factor 2 section, R Factor 2 League, and you'll find Formula Sim Racing. Reason it's in there because they were originally going to do this series on R Factor 2, but then decided to hold back and have R Factor 1 before they decided to have any more technical problems, or kind of so that the beta could iron out any little glitches that the series or the actual game might have. And as I said, just for the hell of it, Peter Burlex pumped in a 1:18.098. That's close to the time that Villa Parla put in, which is a 1:17.9. So looking through some more of the field, see if there's any more cars at least going out there to practice. We've got some more cars coming onto the pit straight. I think that's possibly another one of the Go Speed cars. Giovanni Allman slots into second, 1:18.764. And again, we've got quite a few cars out there. There's predominantly more than the lower kind of ranks of the field. I do believe we have possibly 26. We've got 26 cars in this group, due to the fact that obviously we have pre-qualifying. Obviously, what pre-qualifying does, if anyone's unaware of it, essentially we have a lot of drivers out there on the server, and obviously the fastest 26 will go into the first group, which of course is broadcast to you guys live here on SimRace.tv. And then Group 2, as we said earlier on, is the race that takes place for that group off air. So obviously that's kind of like a sub-championship for people who, in fact, no one actually gets any points, I don't believe. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, nonetheless, we are going to repeat Q1. I've seen the race director mention that. So really, we're just waiting for some more stuff to fill out. We've got had a couple more cars to go out. I've just seen Coriala and Jonathan Holmes both exit the pits. 4 times have come in. Mo Salvarage has popped in at 1:19.034, and Theodoros Zaroglu, who usually springs a surprise sometimes in qualifying, he's popped himself into 5th, and that was a 1:28 lap time, so rather slow, but still, it's give it its best shot. Now then, we have now switched back to the beginning of the first qualifying session, and it's a usual traffic jam up at the end of the pit lane. We've got Mo Salvarage, Tommy Nilsson, Zoltan Suti all at the end of the pit lane. Looks like it's going to be a race between Salvarage and Nilsson to get out there first, and a lot of cars are just themselves at the end of the pit lane, waiting for that red light to go, and the green light will be on in just a moment. Don't want to keep them waiting too long, as it will hopefully have the will keep the engine rising, temperatures rising, and don't want that, especially when it gets qualifying. Green light's on, and Salvarage jumps Nilsson out of the pits, and actually exits, so it will actually be Tommy Nilsson who exits out first. And it's the usual traffic jam down towards the first corner. And so with a circuit like this, James, what are probably the main challenges for drivers here when qualifying and trying to find a good lap?
Well, space. To be honest, it's just space, because it's such a short circuit with so little room, and you can see them all just in position there. That was a pretty crazy charge out of the pit lane, and the main thing they need is that track space, because if you don't have it, if you're held up by another car, that's obviously going to compromise your lap. So that'll be the challenge for the drivers now, trying to get enough room on the track, trying to position their car perfectly so that when they start their lap, it's going to be on the pit. There's no slower cars that just finishing their lap in front of them. It really is quite a challenge here at the Hungaroring. Last year's pole time was a 17.370, and that short little warm-up session we just saw just now, Peter Burlak managed an 18. So still 7/10 of the pole time, but I'm sure they'll wind it up and manage to get somewhere close to that, unless there's been any changes to the track.
Well, here they come then, onto the pit straight to start the qualifying laps. In order, we've had, coming to the pit straight, Salvaraja followed by Zoltan Suti, Tommy Nilsson and Tuomas Coriala. They're the first four that are going to start their laps, and looking back we've got a couple more cars across the line. I believe we've got everyone apart from Paul Burnt out there on track at the moment. Of course, the other three, of course, there are broadcast cars who, of course, aren't permitted to take part in this qualifying session for obvious reasons. It's very hard to commentate and, of course, race at the same time, so it can be done in some cases, but in this case, we just create a nuisance out on track. So let's try and see if we can on the slightly delayed live timing splits, who's doing what in the first sector. As far as I can see, Mel Salvaraja set the quickest sector first at the moment. But actually, no, that's gone to Zoltan Suti. He's only he's done a 26.9 in the first sector. That's been now matched by Mark Alberts. So the times are coming thick and fast. Now Peter Black pumps on 26.8 in the first sector. He's obviously looking like a candidate to get himself into the top 10, of course. A lot of 27s coming in as well, so we're trying to wait for the cars to come through the second sector. We're also going to wait for the first few times to come through to see exactly what's going on. Tommy Nilsson has gone and set the fastest second sector of anyone so far, obviously, and that's been matched by Mark Alberts, second. And then looking through, Zoltan Suti had a pretty poor second sector. He lost about 3/10, and that's a stunning second sector by Peter Bell. He's obviously got the car hooked up 3/10 quicker than the previous fastest one.
Yeah, he went very wide there in the second to last corner, and he also took a big chunk of curb. So perhaps this last sector isn't going to be so good. I guess we'll see, but it's still pretty good. That matches Suti.
Got enough to go quickest anyway. He's gone to a 1:18.242. So other drivers into the 1:18 so far. Nielsen second on a 1:18.6. Mark Alberts third on a 1:18.8. And then Zoltan Suti and Mo Salvaraja with 1:19.90 and 1:19.96 respectively. More times are flooding all the time. I've just seen that Edward Corey has just gone to 7th. Was 7th. He's now gone to 8th as Amanda Mora jumps up. And then Eric Neapolis car. There's a bit of a traffic jam coming out of the pits. We've got Schneider, Burdak, Gautier and one of the FSR general cars as well. I think that's either going to be Marshall Thomas or Kolarek coming out there. And look at Zoltan Suti. He's managed to get himself into the 1:18s. So do you think possibly, if he gets himself a bit more clear track, do you think possibly he'll be able to get himself a better time and match himself possibly onto the second row, even the front row? Do you think, James?
Well, we didn't really see how did he do in qualifying at Silverstone. Let's just take a quick look.
I think he was about 4th, I think.
Yeah, P5. So we didn't see him to be too strong in qualifying at Silverstone, although that was his first race, and we were quite amazed by his P5 even. But we'll see how he is now at the Hungaroring. Certainly some good sector times there. He didn't quite manage to string a whole lap together, as you said, whilst they were in sector 2. But if we just watch him now...
I just watched him there. He tried to go around the outside of Mark Alberts, and all he found was a Ghost Bee car in his side pod, which didn't weak off his lap. But I think he's on an out lap, I believe. Let's have a look if he is. The answer is no, he's not. That was actually no, he's on an out lap. Excuse me. So he's now starting. So maybe we can go on board with him and look at this track. Hard braking down to turn 1. Put him second gear. Very tight. It's probably the slowest corner on the course. We plunge down through turn 2. Again, it's kind of like a slightly off camber but kind of downhill section, and it goes further downhill through turn 3. This is now we start the climb up this rather steep hill towards turn 4. And it's a very blind corner, so you have to be very careful on your entry there, because if you're going too fast, as we've just seen, I think that was I think Kevin Clark, off the track. Yeah, Kevin Clark, there he's racing for faster speed this afternoon. If you get that turn 4 too fast, it's easy for you to spear off and ruin your lap, isn't it?
Yeah, turn 4 is a real challenge, especially we saw Felipe Massa, who got a chunk of spring in his face after it came off Rubens Barrichello's car, because it's just blind. You can't see what's coming around the corner, and so especially if there's a spin off the top of turn 4, it's really dangerous, because another car can come spearing straight into it. It's certainly a danger corner. It's not really one for overtaking. We have seen some moves. So yeah, turn 4 is certainly a danger spot on the track, and another one of them is turn 10. The exits onto the straight down to turn 11. Before, I've seen some problems there running wide. There's a large amount of concrete runoff now, but I remember about 10 years ago there wasn't so much, and that used to be quite an interesting corner, sort of the same as turn 4, but now it's definitely turn 4, though there is a lot of concrete runoff off the edge of turn 4, so it's not really a problem with run wide. It's more a problem with there's problems for others on the exit. You can't see what's happening.
Well, Zoltan Suti on that lap, he went slightly quicker. He's done a 118.7. It was about a tenth or so quicker than what he managed before, but he's still only fifth. He was fifth. He's now sixth. I think that's Theodore Ezeroglu has just popped himself into third place. And we've always said that he does spring a surprise in qualifying, but it seems to be that when it comes to the race, he starts to fall slightly. So his qualifying, his single lap pace is brilliant, but I don't think he's really able to manage it into the race. It seems.
Just checking the Silverstone results, trying to see how he did there. But was he not there last time out at Silverstone? I believe.
I'm pretty sure he was. Let me have a look at the results last time myself, see if I can find him. He finished 16th and a lap down. So,
but he qualified P9, as you say. He seems to have some strong one-lap pace. We just saw Suti go. No, that was a bit of lag. I thought he went wide there in the final corner.
Well, with 2.5 minutes to go, let's quickly running down the current top 10 as it stands. He will be going through the qualifying at the moment. Belak, of course, is top on a 118.2. Closest man to him is Villa Lapala. I think we've just seen someone else jumping. There was it might have been Danny Van Danita, I think. No, it might probably not. It was trying to see how that was. He's just jumped into the. I think that was Edouard Corey. I think Corey's gone to 6th, 118.771. So as the times are changing, as it stands right now, as I'm looking at it, as the Peter Belak 118.2, then Villa Lapala 118.43, and Theodore Ezeroglu 118.48. Tommy Nilsson 4th, 118.690. Giovanni Ullman 5th. In the second Go Speedy car, 118.752. Edouard Corey, we just said, pops up to 6th. A fantastic effort for night racing at 118.771. Zoltan Suti, the home favourite, is 7th at 118.798. Mark Albert's 8th in a 118.841, and just fractions ahead of Danny Van Diet in the second Netrex Junior car, 118.844. And then impressively, Antonio Kolarek is up there in 10th at 118.948, but he's only literally about 0.02 of a second ahead of Mo Salvaraja in the silver line. So with about a minute and a half to go, anything could possibly happen. And Mark Alberts has just jumped to third place with a wonderful effort of 118.434. That's literally 0.04 of a second off his Go Speed compatriot, Lil Lapala. So it's definitely looking as though they've now got a minute to go. They're all getting out there to try and find themselves a lap. I think possibly Zoltan is heading out on track, but I think he's left it too late because he's just heading out on the pits, and he won't have time to get round onto the start another lap. So I think possibly that's a wasted effort, James.
I was just watching Peter Belak, and actually ran very wide on at least 3 occasions, especially through the chicane. He just missed the chicane, so will that lap be invalidated now? I should imagine.
Well, it's not his obviously it's not his fastest first sector. Obviously, what's showing on the screen here is like a white first sector. So it looks as though it's possibly it's not one of the best first sectors that he's done. The second sector doesn't seem to be. It seems to be a fairly decent enough second sector. It's going to be a lap that's not going to be too bad, but of course it won't be anything faster than he's done already. He's coming around the last corner now, and onto the pit straight. His last fast lap time that he did was a 118.3. Lap he's just done is a 118.5, so he's lost quite a bit of time, but he's going on for another lap. In fact, he's just exited back to the pit, so apologies, he hasn't. We've now got about 10 seconds left, so any drivers that are going out there to try and grab themselves another lap, they're going to have to do it now. I think Zoltan Suti, we said, he's going to be too late to get himself back round again. I think Tommy Nilsson's just coming out around the final couple of corners to complete another lap. Now, you can see he set a personal best, I think, in the second sector. Yes, he has.
He's very close to
Is he going to move up at all? And he does. He leapfrogs Suti and goes to 6th. So Suti's gone down to 7th on the grid. And Suti at the moment, now as the checkered flag comes out, he has gone back into the pits. He realises that he was out of time. And seeing if there's any more, I think Fran Schneider's jumped into the top 10 with his final effort. 118.875. He only hit one time previously in the session. That was a 119.7. So he's found 1/10 of a second or so, waiting at 0.855 to be exact. What a fantastic effort that is for Fran Schneider to jump into the top 10. I think that'll probably be his first top 10 session he's done, so that's a brilliant effort for him. Qualifying has now ended. We'll give you the top 10 now as it currently stands. I think we have got some more people just coming around onto the pit straight, so we're going to see exactly if anyone can jump in. Amanda Moracross lies as Kolarek, and Kolarek cannot make it further than 11th, so he's just a fraction outside the top 10. Across the line now goes Giovanni Ullman, and he is still 5th, and Mel Silverage goes to 11th. He's now leapfrog Kolarek, and Ezeroglu stays 4th. Across the line goes Jonathan Holmes, and Holmes has got someone else has jumped in, I think, as well. Who's that? Marcel Barrage, I think, is he gone 10th? I think he has gone 10th. No,
Yeah.
that's because Danny Van Der Neat lost the game. He's left the game, that's why.
Oh, right, okay.
So, we haven't got any more cars coming around, so that is the end of the session, and we'll give you the top 10 as it stands. So Peter Burlack, unsurprisingly, goes to the top of the pile with 118.242. It's very, very condensed in the, just immediately behind him. We've got Villa Parla on the 118.430, Mark Alberts on the 118.434, and Theodoros Ezeroglu on the 118.454. Then we've got Shiny Old fifth in the second Go Speed Racing team car for the 118.632. That's very condensed as well, because just behind him is Tommy Nilsson on the 118.650 and Zoltan Suti at the moment with the 118.663. And of course, I think we are still expecting Danny Van Der Neat to jump back in as well, so obviously he'll be able to slot in there somewhere. And also in the rest of the top 10, we've got Edouard Corre. What a fantastic effort he put in to put himself, showing on screen 8, but he's in the top 10 at the moment with a 118.771. And Van Der Neat does come back into the game, and just, yes, he was 8th actually, just behind his team at 187.54 with Danny Van Der Neat. Then it was Corre 118.771 and Frank Schneider. A fantastic effort to put the Flying Finns car into the top 10, I believe possibly for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if anyone watching wants to correct me on that one, then feel free to do so. 10th on a 118.875. So James, from your point of view, are there any surprises in there apart from the ones I've possibly mentioned? Of course, I think the main surprises, I think you probably agree, are going to be Edouard Corre and Danny Schneider and Frank Schneider for getting top 10.
Yeah, but certainly as a Roglu, 4th place is better than expected with him. He's never scored above the 10 points you get just for competing in Grid 1. So today could really be a good chance if he can back it up with an excellent Q2 time. Definitely as a Roglu, look out for him.
Well, the points, individual points into different amounts go down to 12, and then from 13th onwards, everyone gets 10 points. Essentially, it's kind of like NASCAR. It's kind of like an arrive and drive, really. So, no matter where you classify, you will score something, no matter how big or small it is. We've now got some cars at the end of the pit lane. We've got Peter Burlack, who's now aiming to get himself out there first. He's now sat at the end of the pit lane, waiting for the 5-minute session to start, and it has now gone green. Just remind you of the rules again. 5-minute session. Top 10 go out at any time they want to, and they have one single flying lap in order to get their time in. So, Peter Burlack is out there on track, as is Tommy Nilsson. And in terms of your bid for pole position, would you put your money on Burlack, or do you think that possibly we could see a surprise here in Hungary?
I think I'll put my money on Lapala. I mean, he didn't look too strong there in Q1, but I think he could be very strong here in Q2 when it really matters.
Well, Mark Alberts is out on track at the moment, his teammate, as is also Tommy Nilsson, who is, I believe, the next car immediately behind Peter Burlack. I'm going to click the screen, yes he is. And Zoltan Suti is behind Nilsson, so obviously any Hungarian fans that are watching on, you have a driver to cheer on, of course, in these home Grand Prix, so give them all the support that you can. And also Villa Parla has just left the pit lane as well, I've just seen. Van Der Neat has not left the pits yet. Edouard Corre has, and Marcel Barrage hasn't either. Giovanni Olman now leaving the pit lane as well now. So it's going to be a battle to see who exactly is going to be the best at who's the one that can get pole position. I'm looking at Peter Burlack now. He's rounded the last couple of corners, and he will start his bid for pole position. He's taking
Look how he
wide
does
line,
it.
trying to stretch.
He's really clever when he does this. He takes it really wide in the final corner to get the best possible exit. The straightest exit of the final corner to get the fastest speed down the straight. It's really intelligent racing from Peter Burlack.
Shrewd trick, but it's not against the rules, of course. It's very clever. Burlack starts his lap, as does, of course, Nilsson and Zuti. We'll have a look at the live timing. It's a little bit behind, unfortunately, in some cases, but we'll do what we can. Now up towards the first sectors they will come, and we'll see exactly where it is that they come through. Burlack says 26.9 in the first sector. Anyone beat that? Answer is not yet. Nilsson and Zuti do 27.1s in the first sector. Burlack's already 2 tenths up on these cars behind him. Corey's on a 27.3, so he's at 4 tenths off. And looking to the rest of them, Mark Alberts has kind of matched Nilsson and Zuti with a 27.1. So it looks like possibly Burlack in his lap at the moment has pole position in his grasp for the moment, as the last car to go out on track is Theodoros Ezeroglu, trying to get himself some clear track. And that's the fastest second sector from Tommy Nilsson. He's responded, and look at that, he's majorly quicker. Look at that, he's about half a second quicker. That's unbelievable. So Nilsson is responding. Burlack's had a horrible second sector for whatever reason. I haven't seen it because I'm looking at the live timing. He's onto the pit straight now, and Burlak's time is a 1:18.7. That's a horrible time, not as quick as he's done before. And Nilsson tops in 1:18.766, only just. Zoltan goes third, 1:18.945.
Albert's
Who's
now.
next?
Mark Albert's sector. That's the second sector.
He's coming onto the pit straight now. Corey's gone fourth in the 1:19.2. Alberts goes to the top, 1:18.567. Wonderful lap. So what happened with Burlak? I think he may have possibly had some kind of trouble on his second sector for whatever reason. James, did you spot it at all, or was there? Did you have a kind of slide in sector 2 at all?
No, I was watching Lapala as he comes around now. He's done the fastest second sector too, so Lapala is going very fast. Let's see how he does in the final sector. He's a bit wide in the second to last corner. Can he pull it? Oh, right, he got on the grass before the final corner. He's got to try and pull it to the apex. He can't quite do it. And that might have just mucked up his lap. No, he goes past
he's
it.
gone to the top. I think possibly your theoretical bet has come through, James, because Lapala's just gone top. 1:18.376. That's the fastest lap he's managed so far. Here comes, I think, Johnny Ullman, and he goes to only 7th, 1:19.236. Still got 3 more cars to go. Next up is going to be Danny van der Neet, coming around the last corner. Is he going to start his lap? I think he's going to come across the line now. And no, that was his lap, 1:19.143. We still have Milso Varaja hasn't left the pit, so I think possibly is he opting not to take part in qualifying, I wonder. Meanwhile, the only car we've got left to watch now is Theodore Zaroglu. His first sector, it's been the 3rd fastest out of anyone, so Zaroglu shows a decent pace, but he's looking at his second sector to see exactly how quick he's been. And it's coming up on my live timing in a second. It is a little bit delayed, but you're still seeing it now. Personal best in the second sector, and this has been the this has actually been the 3rd quickest, 4th quickest actually, second sector of anyone. So he could get himself possibly onto roughly roundabout row 2 if he keeps on the lap that he's going. Nice tidy run through the last corner onto the use of the curb on the exit, drives from the line, and his time puts him into 2nd. Unbelievable! He found lots of time in the final sector. That's an unbelievable lap time for Theodore Zaroglu. What a fantastic effort! That is simply fantastic. That was literally the 2nd fastest second sector of anyone. Brilliant stuff from Zaroglu. No one expected that one. He goes to 2nd for Thunder Racing Team. Wonderful effort.
It was just a consistent lap is what it was. None of his sector times were particularly incredible, but you saw Lapala set brilliant first 2 sector times, but then an awful 3rd sector. The same with Burlak. He's had a great first and last sector, but an awful second sector. But Ezeroglu managed to just pull off consistent times in all 3 sectors, so that's why he got that 2nd place. As Peter Barnack says, facepalm in the chat. So
absolutely, James, you're spot on with that one. Let's get you right down this top 10 that we have then. So Villa Lapala, as you predicted, James, you made a correct prediction, so congratulations on that one. Villa Lapala takes pole position with a 1:18.376. It's not the fastest time that we've seen, because the fastest time was, of course, Burlak in qualifying in Q1 with the 1:18.2. So 1:18.3 is good enough pole position. Theodore Zaroglu with that stunning stunning quickest lap of his so far, 1:18.5. And the time has now disappeared from my screen, I believe. Still on the screen here, my live timing, that's good. 1:18.5. Oh, and then I had to disappear from that as well. So I have to give you the positions as they stand. Mark Albert's 3rd on 1 for GS Racing. 4th was Tommy Nilsson. 5th is our championship leader, Peter Burlak. Oh, hold on. I think Peter Burlak had a cut. So did he possibly cut the track at some point on his lap, I wonder? Now, is that going to result in a penalty, maybe? Ah, here we go. Race director is saying you can choose between starting 10th or a potential penalty. So that's even more dramas than for the championship leader, whose fortunes have gone from bad to worse here. So obviously he's going to have his work cut out then, in order to try and get himself, depending on what he chooses, he's going to have his work cut out this afternoon, isn't he, James?
I wonder if that was the chicane, because remember I saw him earlier in the race, earlier in the qualifying session, having some problems with the chicane. I wonder.
This of course
was the problem. Yeah, that's true. It's true. He did set a very slow sector too, so I guess that's where he made a mistake. It'd be a bit cruel to call it a cut, I think, if he actually was slower in that sector.
Well, he's still got to decide what he needs to do. So, of course, that will move up the cars immediately behind him, up 1 place, of course. That will mean that it'll be Zoltan Sutiu starts 5th. It'll be Daniel Van der Beek in 6th, Corey 7th, Ullman 8th, and Mo Selvaraj, who did not set a time. He will be 9th. And Burlak's arguing that he went onto the gravel after the chicane, but I think the director has still made a decision that he either has to start from 10th or he will receive a penalty. Now, Frank Schneider, and that's why Frank Schneider did not take part in qualifying because he wasn't there. That's why Silverage didn't go out, because he wasn't even in Q2. So Frank Schneider had to restart his PC. So that means that Schneider will still start 10th, and that may even become 9th should Burlak his penalty. If he doesn't, he'll possibly run this race under appeal in some cases, if you like. And his result will be subject to official confirmation, I would have thought.
That'd be a dangerous option to take, in my opinion. You might as well just get it out of the way, get a penalty now rather than risk the worst one later.
Yeah, I think possibly the smart option probably would be for Burlak. If I was Peter Burlak, I would just take the penalty and get on with the race. We've seen with him before, with Peter Burlak, he can race through the field, and he can pass people, and he's done a fantastic job both in World Trophy and World Championship. So he's now, I think he may possibly be going. Actually, the race director is saying he can start from 5th if he really lost time there. So I think possibly the race. Peter Burlak's argued the case that he actually went off and had a slow second sector. I think that's possibly what swung it in terms of him keeping his 5th place. So should be interesting. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Burlak's actually making his way out of the pit. So there we go. Zoltan Suti, of course, is on the pit straight as well. He's doing a practice start, and he's left a nice trail of rubber down the pit straight. So what are your expectations for this afternoon's race then? Who do you think are going to be... We know obviously the main drivers are going to be the likes of Burlak and the Pollard. Do you think anyone possibly, maybe outside the top 10, could spring a surprise this afternoon?
Well, Salvaraja could be strong. We've seen him strong before in the race, maybe not. And Suti, obviously... no, he's obviously... he didn't qualify too well, did he? But he's outside the top 5, so he could be... he could make his way up onto the... into the podium positions, but having outside the top 10, I'm not really sure. Van den Eet, is he inside the top 10?
I believe he is. I believe he's roughly about 8th or 9th, depending on where his Q2 qualifying efforts. We'll see the order for definite when we... we'll see his definite order again when we go to the race session in a second. We've got to warm up. We're into the warm up here. 6.5 minutes to go, though I'm pretty sure the race director will take us to the race before that timer is up, if everyone's ready. Just having a look through, so that should be interesting. So of course now we've got Burlak, who's now argued his case now deciding to start 5th. His race isn't going to be too hindered, so I think possibly off the start, I think we're definitely going to see some fireworks into turn 1, as to who's going to set them off. Well, that remains to be seen. Of course, I know we did 1 or 2 maybe hot-headed drivers in here, not to name any names, but I'm not really sure 100% who they are. But obviously, you do get some drivers who are a bit over enthusiastic into turn 1. And I think the Pollard's now just testing out his race pace. He's done a 1:18.775, so that's on race pace. Looking, he could be possibly an outside favourite to take the victory. I think Burlak, if he can come through the field and get himself a decent start, could maybe put himself in a position to win another race. But of course, we saw that what happened in Montreal. Just want to point out on, you said about Moussa Varaji, he did start on pole position in the World Trophy in Canada, so definitely got some pace about him, and he only finished 4th, I think, after some 1 or 2 mishaps, but still, he did himself a good job, and he's possibly could be, he also does race from time to time, does race in the World Championship for Silverline, so definitely Silverline are a team that can nurture new talent and push them forwards, especially with Mo being one of them. I think he possibly could find himself into a World Championship car, possibly in the more often in the near future, but we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, like you said, the track is very thin, which means on the start it kind of can bottleneck down into turn 1 when you go 3-4 abreast, trying to make up as many positions as possible. And that's when it's just perfect conditions for contact and then a massive pile-up. So I'm not trying to curse it or anything, but it's certainly possible that we can have quite a crazy start, and some guys can make up lots of positions. It's all about where you place the car. You can try and go for the outside and miss it all, but then you can be shoved wide, or you can try and go for the inside and just getting into an incident, but also you can reap the rewards if you get past everyone.
We've got 4 minutes left or so in this warm-up session. Of course, this session really, it's kind of like a sub-session really before the race, kind of like, as it says, it is pretty much a warm-up, and it's basically a session really that kind of really has no real kind of credit to it. So it's the kind of session that can drivers can use to just fill the cars up with fuel and test out and just do some last minute checks just to make sure that the car is running okay, and just test their pace in terms of how the car's going to run for the race ahead. We're having laps that we're going to do also when we go to the race session, and it's going through. I mean, in terms of going back to the track, James, obviously I think all sim racers have driven Hungary at some point. What are your personal impressions of having driven it? Is it a circuit that you particularly like, or is there possibly some parts of it that you're not too keen on?
So I really like it. I think a lot of drivers do, because it's flowing, and it's one corner sort of leads into another, and you get a natural rhythm up. I really enjoy this. I don't enjoy racing at it particularly because it's quite hard to pass, but certainly driving the circuit at least is really good fun, especially sort of sector 2 with all those fast corners, one that leads into another, and then another, and then another. It's really good fun. The chicane also is, I love chicanes. I love hitting those big curbs and really making your car use the suspension a lot. So I really enjoy the Hungara ring. I think especially in the wet, if obviously there's no rain in the SR, but if there was, then those curbs can get really slippery and tough. So I really enjoy it.
I have a bit of a sucker for a chicane. I do quite like circuits with a lot of chicanes, so you can just hop over the curbs and really just hammer the suspension. So absolutely, Monza's a fantastic circuit as well. Another one that's quite prominent is Manukura's that last chicane. It's just to quote Martin Brundle, when you go over there, those curves of chicane, you immediately have to call the chiropractor afterwards because your back of which is absolutely done in after it. But nonetheless, like you said about weather, of course, when it's not a case that if, it's rather when FSR makes a switch to R-Factor 2, of course R-Factor 2 does have, of course, a weather system in it. So of course we will have rain
really looking forward to that.
in FSR. And of course, when we get the R-Factor 2 mod running up, I presume that probably some point for next season, of course, we will have our first ever possible wet FSR races, of course. So they're a dynamic weather system, of course. So it shows, obviously, kind of like dynamic clouds, obviously proper temperatures and proper cloud patterns and everything. And of course, it actually shows a proper drying lines on the circuit. So that should be pretty exciting. So rain always adds a bit of a spice to element to spice up the racing, and I think possibly in FSR that would just make it absolutely fantastic. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, but just watching Peter Burlack, he had another problem at the very same place at that chicane. He went wide, and it seems to be a corner that he's having real difficulty with. It's really uncharacteristic of Peter Burlack, but it's about 3-4 times I've seen that happen to him, and it happened to him in qualifying, and he got a penalty for it as well. So Burlack really has to watch out for that chicane. Also, I saw how he took turn 4, that blind corner. He took it absolutely perfect. He perfectly placed his car on that apex, and absolutely incredible driving from him. And I would really look for him to be an exciting starter and make up some positions. Whether he can catch Lapala or not, I don't know. It depends how well Lapala can get away from pole position and make a gap.
Well, if that is Lapala's ultimate race pace, he's out there trying to do another lap at the moment, or he has just made a big twitch out of the chicane in the second sector. Whether Lapala, that is his true race pace, remains to be seen. Of course, that is fairly quick for race pace of 118. So, well, I think possibly that Burlack has probably the overall more consistent race pace. He's currently done at the moment a 119.3, and his times are very consistent. He's done a 119.3, 119.6, and a 19.3 and a 19.8. So if he can keep at those times, he'll definitely be a driver that's obviously being the championship lead. He's obviously going to be the definite, obviously one of the drivers that everyone's going to be looking at to come through the field. Let's have a look, and we're possibly looking at Lapala is looking to do a 4-stop, and Burlack's going to do a 3-stop. So it's going to be a battle of the strategies game. Remember we saw that in Silverstone, although we saw it, you didn't, because it was a race, because it was more like it was any order you had in Silverstone. And we saw that with the battle. That was the battle that we had in Silverstone, where it was Zuti on a 4-stop strategy, and Burlack did the 3, as he's trying to try and do in Hungary again. And it seems to be that Burlack actually had enough pace to make the 3-stop work. So do you think possibly that if what Lapala needs to do, I think, do you think he needs to possibly get as best start he can as possible, a clean start, and then just try and control the pace from the front until he can get to a big enough gap so that he's going quick enough to make the 4-stop work? Do you think that's possibly what he needs to do?
Yeah, definitely. If he's got to make one more stop, he's got to get away, and he's got to get away fast. If he has any problems off the grid with who is it? It's long name guy. If he has any problems with him, Ezra Roglu, yes.
Ezra Roglu.
The Greek Ezra Roglu. If he has any problems with him, then that'll be it really for his race strategy if he gets caught behind another car. It's really dangerous actually doing more stops at this track, I would think, because getting caught behind lap traffic is, traffic is such a problem. If he drops back into problems, and that's just it for his race. Do they carry over the strategy from qualifying, so he would have been on less fuel to do his qualifying lap?
Quite possibly. I'm not exactly 100% sure how the fuel loads work for qualifying, but also we'll find out how they're doing, as we now are 14 seconds away or so from the warm-up lap, and we're going to wait then for the cars to head onto the grid, and once that's done, we'll be off the formation lap. And as they're about few seconds to go, we're going to take you through then the grid for the 2012 FSR Thrustmaster FSR World Truck Race here at the Hungarian Grand Prix at Budapest. So here is the lineup as they stand on the grid. Villa Pola took pole position with a fantastic time to put himself top for go speed. Second, Theodore Cesaroglu, wonderful time set in that Thunder Racing Team car. Then Mark Alberts was third for the GS Racing Team. GT Megas, Tommy Nielsen sits fourth. Championship leader Peter Berlak only better the fifth after a mistake in the second sector on his qualifying lap. Home favourite Zoltan Suti starts sixth in his first race in the junior Netrex car. And he's got just behind him Danny van der Neet, teammate in seventh. Edouard Corre sits eighth, a wonderful effort for him. He starts eighth for Night Racing. Ninth for Joanne Ullman. Poor kind of effort for him in qualifying, expecting a little bit better from him. And Fred Schneider runs out the top 10. Did not set a time because he wasn't present because he had to restart his PC, but he has now going to start going again and he sits in the top 10 there. 11th, Mo Salvaraja for Silver Racing. And then 12th is Antonio Kolarek. 13th is Armando Mora, and if James Hugh wants to take over, 14th is Marshall Thomas in the other FSR General car. Okay, I'm not sure if James is still there at all, but I think what we'll do...
Sorry, some technical issues for me, sorry.
There you go. Yeah, I've got down to 14, so you want to take to the rest of the grid.
15th place, Nick Fisher for the ATR development car. 16th place, Sebastiano Pelosa. And 17th, Bastien Gauthier, also in ATR Racing development cars. 18th place, Kevin Clark, fast in the speed. Mikko Surkas in the Silverline Academy. Down in 19th, Jonathan Holmes, my good friend and commentary partner over at Sliders TV, is down in 20th. Sammy Passari in 21st, and round at the back of the grid, Flying Fins Racing also have Tuomas Coriala down in 22nd, and we are set on the grid and ready to go.
We are indeed, so we're going to wait for the lights. I think we also, we've got, I think that's Jonathan, who's going to start from the pit lane from his first ever race. And we're going to wait then for, so is Mark Albert, so we're going to wait then for them to head into the pit lane. And once they are there and waiting, we're going to start off the race. 53 laps then of the Hungaroring. Wait then for the red lights. And before you know, it will be lights out. And away they go then here for the World Trophy here at the Hungaroring. Good start by Lapala off the grid. Clean start looks up everyone, and Berlak's already got to the pit wall. As Rocky follows, Nilsson's going to go to the inside and develop for Berlak into turn 1. Here they come. And Nilsson and Berlak side by side. Nilsson trying to go around, hold the outside line. The gold station ahead of Berlak. Berlak's got a pass Zoltan Suti, and Selvaraja has gone all the way up. He's gone up to somewhere, but he's up to 8 already.
As a Rocky very wide.
As Rocky is very wide, look at that, and there's side by side. Zuti's dropped back as well. And now we've got, that looks like Tommy Nilsson to second place. There's a Rocky, there's contact, and there goes Rocky over the runoff area. And now Zuti's trying to go around the outside as well. There's Chaos and Esmond in the middle of a track, and he's been, how did he not get hit by anyone there? He spins into the infield, and he carries on. There's more contact as well. We've got a car off without a front wing. I think it's actually, that's Franz Schneider. He started 10th and he's out. He's not out yet, but he's without a front wing, just ahead of his teammate Tuomas Coriala. And chaos already at the first course. It wasn't the turn 1 that caused the chaos. It was everything else. With Villa Pola streaking away already up towards the end of the first lap. And Nilsson has second place. Berlak up to third already. And the Hungarian fans, cheer if you want, because Zoltan Suti is already up to 4th. Orban's 5th, and Danny van der Neet is 6th, and Corey is still 7th. Amanda Mora's up to 8th. Wonderful start from him, the Italian. Then we've got Sebastiano Pelosa and Gautier. What a start from the two AT Racing development cars. Oh, that's a car off in the background. That's Kolarek. Kolarek lost his front wing. He's going to try and get back to the pits. Oh, and almost runs into Johannes Kunkel there in the precision car. Basari and Bent are going to go around the outside as well, but it is, of course, Lepal leading with a nice sizable gap. He led across the line with a gap of 2.6 seconds, and he's striking away that advantage. It's exactly this, James, is exactly what he needs to do. Get a clean start and then pull away from the rest of the field. It looks like he's doing just that because he knows he has to do that in order to try and make his four-slot strategy work.
Yeah, but Burlak also has done exactly what he needs to do. He's managed to avoid the carnage just. I mean, there was 4 wide down into turn 1, and then in turn 4 also everyone tried to go for it, and there was cars spinning everywhere, but Burlak could get through it, and now he's done exactly what he needs to do. And what he really needs to get done now is to pass Nielsen, and if he can do that, he can surely win this race. He can just keep Lepala within a reasonable gap, but it's possible that Nielsen could hold him up, and that is what is really key to Burlak for winning this race.
Quickly to the back, we've got Mihailo Vincentovic for Optimus Racing. He's in the pits. He's had to struggle around, which is French Schneider and Kolarek have both left the pits with brand spanking new front wings on the front of their cars. Looking at the front, I was just in the background. Nick Fisher just passed Suokas, Mikko Suokas in the second Silverline car for 12th place. Looking back up to the more battles in front of that. And we've got Nielsen defending from Burlak. He's on the inside, but Burlak has a slight toe. We go up towards turn 1. He's moves to the outside line. And Burlak getting very close. He's trying to tuck the front wing of that Twister Racing car and leave the rear wing of the GT Omega machine. And Burlak is desperate to get himself second. He can chase after Nielsen. The gap is now 3.3 seconds between first and second. But of course, Burlak is desperate to dispatch of the Swede and get himself up there to try and get him in contention for a win. Because the more he's held up, and the more these two battle each other, the easier it's going to be for Lepala to make a break. And of course, he's going to start to pull away. Of course, with Zoltan Suti as well. Suti, I think possibly he's going to try and make whatever strategy he's on. It could be a 4-stop. We'll have to wait and see. If he is, he's going to have to push a bit harder and get onto the back of the Twister car and try and make it work.
Also, what's going to be key is Burlak's got to look after his tyres if he's doing one less stop. So he can't attack too hard on Tommy Nielsen, because if he destroys his tyres, that's it. That's his strategy completely ruined. We can see Nielsen trying to break the toe down the main straight. I'm not sure how legal that is, because certainly swerving isn't allowed. We can see that it's like watching a race at Indianapolis with them all weaving from side to side down the straight. Really excellent stuff. We're going to go onto the main straight now, and surely Burlak will have enough of a toe to pull a pass. He's right to the inside in the final corner and manages to cut it quite a lot better. And Nielsen goes all the way to the inside to block, giving him absolutely no room. Burlak pulls to the outside, going side by side into turn number 1. Can Burlak make it on the brakes? Squeezes him and just about gets the move done. Fantastic move from Burlak, and that's key to his race strategy working out.
Peter Burlak grabs second then from Tommy Nielsen. Nielsen trying to get the position back to get through turn 2, but he's not quite close enough and almost took his front wing off in the process. But it all started, I think. Burlak was close enough to the final corner, but see that Nielsen got a bit of a twitch through the last corner, and that in turn allowed Burlak to just sail up onto the back of the rear wing, dart out, and actually do a bit of a dummy, goes to the outside, just have the air confidence in his car, just keep it and hold around the outside to take second place. And now that has the clean air, he's got 4.3 seconds to make up. I think with the pace it is going, he's going to make it up fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's absolutely disastrous, because if he's doing one less stop and he's faster than Lepala, then that's absolutely awful for Lepala. I mean, having done that, Burlak could be going out too fast too early, and he could destroy his tyres and completely ruin that strategy, so we'll have to see. Best thing Lepala can do is stretch the gap.
Absolutely. Back in 8th place we've got Edouard Corey and Marshall Thomas, and Corey, obviously this is his best qualifying effort that he's had so far in FSR. He's holding off Marshall Thomas in that FSR General car. You can kind of think of those two, him and Kolarek, as kind of like the independents. They don't really have a race drive at the moment, but they're kind of out there just racing for themselves. And he's trying to hold on. He was fairly close, but Corey's trying to pull the gap. And just behind, 2 Ace Race Development cars are going to go into combat. That's Veloso. He's actually been passed by Gautier down the front straight. So the newcomer here back to Gautier, but Veloso says having none of it. They're going to go side by side through turn 1, but Gautier holds the inside line, and he takes the 10th place, and into the top 10 goes Gautier. He's, I presume, his first ever FSR race. So that's a fantastic effort from the Frenchman. I wonder how Veloso is going to be impressed. His impression is going to be by that. I don't think he'll be too much impressed, but and now he's going to deal with Nick Fisher behind. He's closing in 12th place. Front runners are still up in Lepala's gap. He's actually increased to 4.7. So Lepala, even though Burlak's now cleared the cars he needs to get past, he still can't make too many inroads on Lepala. So he's definitely put his foot down. He comes to the end of the second sector. sector, and the gap between those has gone up again to 5 seconds. So Lapala is definitely trying to make the 4-stop strategy work. He's on a lighter fuel load. I think possibly this is looking to his advantage for the moment, but of course with Bellat one less stop to make, this might be enough pace for Bellat to make it work, do you think?
Well, if he's doing one more stint, essentially, and let's say a pit stop here, it's quite a short pit lane actually, and also you enter on the inside of the hairpin, which also helps. Let's say a pit stop's about 18 seconds, that means he has to make up around 4-5 seconds every stint. So as long as the Lapala can keep that 5-second gap for every stint, then he can probably manage to do it. But it's very close. Bellat really needs to make a trade-off between saving his tyres and managing to stay close enough to Lapala that he can beat him. Of course, also the thing is, even if Bellat does come out in front of Lapala for a final time, Lapala will have much fresher tyres at the end of the race, and he can perhaps pass Bellat that way.
And of course, that's a fuel load, which of course will definitely help him out. Just pretty back to the battle for 8th, and right now is Marshall Thomas all over the back of him. And also, Thomas has now got an extra 22 because now, look behind him, the rapid Frenchman Bastien Gauthier has just left his teammate, who's now into the clutches of Nick Fisher. But Gauthier is now on the back of this battle now. It's become a 3-car train. And now also, Rokes is heading back onto Fisher. We can look back at the battle for 11th Velosa, and he's having to really be very defensive from Nick Fisher. Quick look at the rear wing for Velosa's car. You can see the Fisher's just there. He goes a little wide on the exit, but Fisher is still there or thereabouts, trying to defend that position. It seems to be just ahead. I'm just noticing that Corey seems to be the traction out of the traction at the corner seems to be enough to hold him in front, but it seems to be mid-corner grip and corner entry. That's where Thomas and Gauthier are closing in, but it seems to be now down the straight and out of the corner. He's got much better traction, so he's holding them off for the moment. Looking behind, and how close is Fisher to Velosa? He's not close enough to make a move just yet. Looking again, Marshall Thomas down the inside of Corey again. He's gone back to make it stick, so looking quick up the front again. The gap is now 5.2 seconds. 5.3 in fact, it's gone up by another 10 in that sector alone. So this is definitely the lighter fuel load that's working for the part at the moment. But of course, like you said, kind of needs to step it up a little bit more and burn off a bit more of that fuel if he's actually going to try and make it work. But of course, as we saw back in Silverstone, alternate strategies, they can come together, and they can...
Garcia's going down the inside of Thomas as the chicane. Just sorry to interrupt there, and he managed to... No, not quite. Nearly a bit of contact between those two, actually. Sorry to interrupt there. Carry on.
It's okay, not a problem. I was actually going to come back to that in a second, but that's not a problem. That's brilliant, thank you. Let's have a look. Marshall Thomas, the holding station 209. Look at that Gauthier just trying to then back ambitious move down the inside, but of course to back out of it. Went over the curbs, which then caused him to lose time. Now Velosa then is still having to hold off Fisher, just behind so any more battles going on behind that. Ezeroglu, after his fantastic qualifying effort, is finding himself in 18th, not really making any inroads on Kieran Clark, if I'm honest. Kevin Clark, apologies. And there's, I think Coriolo is just pushed Mark Alberts off, in some cases. Mark Alberts gets going again. Oh, and Coriolo spun and hit the wall on the exit of the penultimate corner. And thankfully, he was literally just on the doorstep of the pit entry, so he's now gone back into the pits quickly. And he'll probably fall back in the back of the field, that's still running, of course. And he's now in the pits now. Alex Nova has also retired, unfortunately. He was out on the first lap. And the gap between Lapala and Belak is now 5.8 seconds, so definitely Lapala trying to extend his advantage as much as he can before that first stop, because he knows he has to stop more time than the Croatian. And Zoltan Suti doing very well to hold on in 4th place. He could get himself possibly onto the podium if he can capitalise on any misfortunes that the top 3 in front of him make or suffer from. It seems to be that the top 6 or top 7 cars are all fairly spread out. Then there's that kind of train between Corey and Thomas and Gauthier. Although Corey's pulling away from the FSR General car driven by Thomas. Gauthier all over the rear wing of Marshall Thomas once again. So even Gauthier, this is his first race, of course. He's just could be another driver that's showing fairly decent promise, obviously in the 80 Racing Development car.
Yeah, the closest battle seems to be between Suti, Alman, and also Nielsen up in 3rd place. Suti is not, he's falling off the pace really of Nielsen up in front, although obviously we don't know the strategies. Perhaps Suti's on a 3-stop and Nielsen's on a 4-stop. It's we don't know that. So and also it's a battle for 11th, sorry, between Velosa and Fisher. Fisher trying to get the inside line, and
We're just ahead, but now Fisher's now going to try and do the switch back onto the inside towards turn 2. Sends it up the inside, there's contact, and Mercer goes round. Half spins it and gets it going again. It was a clumsy move, he just trying a bit too desperate down the inside. He lost not only their places to Fisher, he's lost 3 more places now down the field. He's been passed by Suokas, Kunkel and Passari, down to 15th place. He's got out just ahead of Kevin Clark, who's now battling with Paul Burns. So that's after from Pelosi. I don't think he'd be too impressed by that. But nonetheless, he gets back going again, and now does keep going again. It's now, this is interesting, quickly back up to battle for 8. Corey's has got a bit twitchy. I think in turn that's a bit of a concertina effect, because Marshall Thomas backed up. And I look at Goethe again, all over the rear wing of Thomas. And he goes to the inside line. Is he going to outbrake himself? No, he doesn't. He just fills the mirrors of the FSR General car just to let Thomas know he's there. Corey, he's possibly struggling on the tyres that he's on at the moment, I think, because maybe he's burned them off a bit too much, but I'm not quite sure. And I think there's a battling going on, I think. Well, the Parler's pitted. The Parler's pitted for his first stop then from the lead, so he's now back out in 4th place. And also, so is Peter Burlak. Burlak's pitted as well. That nice. So is he gone possibly for a longer stint? I wonder. But at the same time, just behind Corey and Thomas in that battle, and Thomas is passed. And there goes Gautier around the outside, the other inside for turn 2, and he does indeed get. I'm not a quick look on the replay and see what happens. Get our broadcast man to do, get Renault Rooms to do a replay for us. We'll see what happens. And that's what it was. All Thomas and Corey. And Corey trying to get back on the power after Thomas got up the inside, and that in turn got Gautier, gave him an easy invitation to get past into 9th place. So wonderful stuff then from Thomas and Gautier to force a mistake from Corey. Nilsson is now leading the race, but of course let's see if he dives into pits on this occasion. Answer is no, he doesn't. He stays out. Zuti carries on. As does Giovanni Olman, of course so does Bill Lapala. Van der Neet keeps going. As Mora, of course so does Berlak, he's just pitted as well. Well, Marshall Thomas, is he into the stop yet? No, he doesn't. He carries on. Top 10 aren't going into the pits just yet. They haven't decided to make the stop.
Really curious decision by Burlak to pit then, especially if he's doing less stops, then you'd think that he'd have a different fuel. So perhaps the Parler thinks, no, I can't do the distance on 3 stops with the fuel I took in qualifying, whereas Burlak thinks he can. So it's certainly going to be interesting, perhaps different tyre wear on those 2 drivers. It certainly should be very, especially if that shows that Lapala had that outright pace to stretch that gap of 5.2 seconds, or however much it was, about 5.8 by the time he made his pit stop. So that certainly shows that Lapala has pace over Burlak.
Well, Burlak's wasting no time. He's already on the back of Armando Mora and then makes the Apple's car, and he's definitely trying hard to make it up another place. What's interesting is that Lapala came out in 4, and Burlak was out in 7. Now, probably partly down to the actual gap that he had. Maybe I don't think there's possibly any kind of difficulty in the pits. I don't think at all.
Lapala is right on the back of his teammate, and he pits.
Yeah,
that's going to be a tricky situation.
So we've got Zwani Olman in for 4th place. We can have a look at that. Daniel Magnique carries on as well. And also what's going on track is now Mora is now under attack from Burlak once again. He's been under attack for about half a lap. And they're going to go down the front straight, and then look at Burlak sweeps to the inside. That's an easy passing down towards turn 1 to 5th place. Takes and moves up another spot. Now he's going to follow up against Danny Van Der Neet. Now of course this is a net 2nd place, because of course Nilsson, Scuti and Van Der Neet are still to pit, so there's any more cars to hit the pit stops. Almost exits out in 9th, just had the battle for what is now 10th between Corey, who's now got a train of cars behind him. I think possibly Gautier is now pitted as well, I think. Or has he had a spin somewhere? I'm not quite sure, because I'm trying to see. Let me reverse myself, because Gautier's all the way back down into place. What happened there, I'm not quite sure. I'm quickly reversing my broadcast to have a look at what happens. I can't see it. Did he spin? I'm not quite sure. That's a bit confusing. I can't quite see what happened there, but nonetheless he's back down in 12th and battling with Johannes Kunkel, the only Precision Motorsports car that's out there. And that's just look at the Parler and Zuti. Zuti is battling away then. Zuti heads to the pits already, so look at that. That was a battle short-lived. But now Tommy Nilsson carries on. I think also we've had, it may have been possibly Jonathan Holmes has just gone out of the pits as well. Zuti then stops from what was second, and Lapala resumes that place. Berlec's now third and trying to close in on Lapala. The gap now between those two is about 5.5 seconds or so that's not too bad. And is that Zuti's pit spun in the pits? I'm trying to see what someone spun in the pit lane. Who's that? I think was it Van der Nees? I couldn't quite catch it. Was it?
Not sure. I didn't see it myself.
I need to have a look because I'm pretty sure someone sideways in the pits, and I think it was. Was it? I think it was Van der Nees. I think it was Van der Nees. I think. Have a look. So I'm gonna go all the way down to my foot. It was Van der Nees. I'll quickly rewind it in my broadcast. And he did. He because he went in a bit too hot on his pit stop. Oh, that's why. I think what happened. He went to go into the pits, and Zuti got in his way. Oh, teammates! They had a bit of a collision in the pits, and Van der Nees had to reverse and get back into his pit box, and that's cost him no end. So I don't think Van der Nees was very impressed by that. That's why he was sideways in the pits. So that's pretty inconvenient. He's now gone back out in 18, and that's cost a hell of a lot of time. He's back out behind. Looks like Mo Salvaraja. And Nilsson's in the pits as well, so the leader, who was the leader, gives the first place back to the finish driver. Now the gap between Lapala and Berlak is now 5.8 seconds, so it looks like now, I wonder that's the puzzle, because possibly, I think maybe, Berlak's now gone on the pitted and on the same lap as Lapala to try and play with his mind a little bit, but he's fueled
Nilsson's
up a little bit more. He is indeed, and he's got back out in 4th place ahead of Zoltan Suti.
Just in front of Suti. Literally just in front of Suti.
Suti looks like he's had a fantastic outlap, and definitely caught the monster the rear end of the GT Omega cars. That'll be an interesting battle to watch. Kevin Clark has just retired from the race, unfortunately. Just see what the reason for that one is. Looks like just a simple DNF, and French Snyder's retirement was due to a suspension failure. So that's quite unfortunate for him. Mahalo Fincincevic is still running. He's back down 24. And already a lap down. He actually caught up in the first lap. He was actually one of the last guys to come around and finish the first lap, of course. Back down 6 seconds between Lapala and Berlak. Now, just to go back to the point I was making, I think possibly Berlak has pitted early to try and play with Lapala's head a little bit and try to make him think he's on a 4-stop again. I think now that Berlak's now gone onto a 3-stop strategy, and now he's going to try and he's fueled it heavy, and now he's going to try and look after his tyres as best as he can to make the 3-stop work. Now, across the line they come. The gap now this time between Lapala and Berlak is now still 6 seconds exactly. So it looks like Berlak has now matched Lapala in the final sector. And Amanda Morrow, who's set to pit, in fact, as I say that, he is now in the pit lane for his first stop. Now we've got this battle between Nilsson and Zuti. Zuti very close onto the back of Nilsson's car. I think he'll be fuel this to dive bomb down the inside, which he doesn't. And Zuti then doing very well, but continuing his impressive form, and his second race for Netrex as a whole and FSR. And I think Nilsson went a bit too deep through turn 3. That's turn 2. That's now allowed used to get right onto the rear wing of the Finnish driver, of the Swedish driver. And look at they both climb over the curve as they go through turn 4. Nilsson quickly darts back to the outside of the track and to get the right line for turn 5. Down towards the chicane they come. And
Zuti went purple in sector 1.
Fastest first sector of anyone else so far on the racetrack then. Yeah, fastest first sector of anyone so far in this race. So he's definitely pushing hard. He likes the set of tyres he's on at the moment. At the temperature now, his battle is commencing between these two now. Bit of a twitch out of the corner just there, but Lapala then still leading. The gap's up to about 6.3 seconds. And look at Zuti, look at this is the best chance he's had. He's very, very close to the back of Nilsson. He's got a fantastic run onto the pit straight. Nilsson was a little bit wide. Zuti will then get on. Let's go on board with Zuti then, if we can, on the T-cam. And Zuti then, he looks to the inside line. Is he going to make it stick on the inside? Does it inside? Yes, he has. Daring up the inside, and Zoltan Suti makes the play stick, or does he? If you look at Nilsson around the outside towards turn 2, but Zuti will have the line. And as they go through, Nilsson round the outside again, or has he made that stick? Because Zuti's going to hold it round the inside. The outside for turn 3, is he going to make that one stick? Now there's contact! As he's off into the barriers. He cuts the wall, and has that caused new suspension damage, I wonder. He's going to try and struggle back through. And again, he's going to get in front, I think, possibly just ahead of Islander Morrow. Morrow does go through, as does, I think, Marshall Thomas. Is going to get through, or does Zuti have any major damage? I'm going to look at a replay of that, I think, if we can.
It looks like it was Zuti's fault to me. It looks like Nielsen gave him room and he just tried to squeeze him to the apex to try and get past him there. And Zuti tried to impress maybe a bit too much his home fans. It was a daring move down the inside into turn 1, but Nielsen, a very calm and collected driver, managed to get the undercut back underneath him. Knew he was on the outside for turn number 2, and he managed to keep the position, managed to be late enough on the brakes to hold it for the inside into turn 3, and looks like Zuti just tried to squeeze him, made an awful mistake there, and that's put himself perhaps out of the points or out of the race.
I think possibly maybe out of the race, because he is actually starting to crab with some suspension damage, I think. He's actually really struggling to get round, and as we said, there's a battle for P13 going on, and that's out of the, just behind that battle, Sorry, just given up 13th place to Mark Alberts. And that's a pretty close battle between them, so that's interesting. Now, Zuti, is he in the pits yet? He is in the pits. Now, what if they're possibly going to try and repair that damage? Van der Neek goes past into 7th. Fischer and Salvarage are battling just in front as well. That's now for 8th place of Fischer down the inside of Salvarage into turn 1, and he makes the move sticky. He's up to 8th place, so it does seem to be, as we said, James, that turn 1 seems to be the prime overtaking spot on this circuit.
Yeah, it's kind of like a funnel, a bottleneck down to there. It looks wider than it actually is, so it kind of encourages overtaking moves. So you can see with those two, Nielsen and Zuti. Zuti just dived for the inside. He probably didn't have track position on the track, but he just had to go for it. And Nielsen just waited until he knew he would come off the apex, and he waited to get back on the throttle in front of him. So really intelligent stuff from Nielsen.
Zuti has just now exited the pits, and he's now back down in 20th place. He's now a lap down on the actual leaders. That's a terrible situation for Zuti, and any Hungarians that are watching on in this broadcast are going to be absolutely heartbroken at the fact that their home favourite is now all the way down and outside the chance of even getting himself a point. Although he will get himself 10 points as a consolation, of course, because as we said, it's kind of everyone gets at least 10 points here in the World Trophy. It's kind of like NASCAR, kind of like an arrive and drive, kind of like an arrive and drive thing. It's kind of like, you know, kind of you can come here and just even do the race, and it doesn't matter where you're classified, you will at least have some points to take away, which is always good.
It's a clever point system, really, because it allows Grid 2 to have 10, 8, 6. Like F1 used to be, so I believe that's why they do it, because then they can still give staggered rewards for Grid 2.
Excellent stuff. I was looking at some of the on-track on some of the graphic bits and pieces. There's an incredible lot of debris on the track. There's lots of front wings and wheels everywhere. It's a breaker's yard more than a racetrack, if I'm honest. But looking down the field, I think the closest battle possibly is going to be looking at P9. Look at P9 because Salvarage having to really fend off both Johannes Kunkel and Mark Alberts. Mark Alberts charging through the field. He's got to 11th already. And they're really flying through the second sector. They're going to come to the end of it in a second. Pisari's trying to hold on, but he's a couple of seconds back there in the background. And Kunkel is really starting to apply the pressures. A few cars still haven't hit it yet, such as Armando has hit it, as is Marshall Thomas, and so is Danny Van der Neet, I think. But look at the battle for 9th place. Salvarage now coming out the inside of there. He's had a bit of a twitch. Oh, he spun! He spun in front of Kunkel and Alberts. And that's put him in a very dangerous position in the middle of a track now. As Pisari and Gautier get past him, but Salvarage looks like he was just too eager to get off the throttle once again. That may have caused some damage as well. Look at that, he's struck. Yeah, I think that's probably broken the wrist suspension, I think, due to the contact he's had. And Salvarage then is in the pits. And he's crabbing just as Zuti was. So that possibly could be a race-destroying incident. Past goes Burton, there's a loop. It's rocking up to 15th as a record off and starting on the front row. Kolarek and Swokas go past as well, as does now Edouard Corre's back in the pack as well. And Villapala has also come to lap him as well. So Salvarage has gone a lap down, and I think also Zuti's now just been lapped, of course, now by he's now lapped Vincencevic, and also Belak's going in the background as well. So Salvarage is back in 20th place after his incident.
How lucky was Salvarage not to be hit there? He was right back, he was facing backwards on the track, and luckily everyone managed to avoid him. That was very close.
I think he maybe was clipped by maybe Kunkel or Alberts as they came out into the last corner. But I do agree, the cars that went past him afterwards, very lucky not to get caught up in the incident, and as a result, possibly suffering a race-ending incident. But let's get onto lap 2053 here at the 2012 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Trophy Hungarian Grand Prix. For one of the longest event names in history, but there you go. Currently leading the race is Bill Lapala by 8.6 seconds from champion leader Peter Burlak. Third place then, he's actually 12 seconds ahead of Tommy Nilsson in third place. Fourth is Ronnie Ullman, fourth and the second goes to be car, so this could be a decent points haul for them. Fifth is for Netrex Neapolis, which is Zoltan Suti's old team. He's Amanda Mora, excellent stuff from the Italian there. Sixth is Marshall Thomas, excellent effort from him in what is effectively an independent car, the FSR General car that he's running. Seventh, Danny Van Der Neat for Netrex Jr. Nick Fisher runs 8th currently, and then 9th is Johannes Kunkel, only Precision Motorsports car on the field, and then 10th behind him and challenging for that 9th place is in fact Mark Albers. Just behind, we've got Sammy Passari.
And Lapala's just exited him. And Lapala's just exited.
Now I wonder, what's this place should be given? Do you think possibly now that actually Burlak's gone to a 4-stop strategy as well as Lapala? Because they pissed on exactly the same lap.
It would seem so. They've got exactly the same strategy. So the information we had before the race was either wrong or Burlak changed his mind. Because Burlak seems to have echoed the strategy, which actually will make it a lot harder for Burlak, I think, to win this race. Because now he's doing the same thing. He can't beat Lapala by any other way than passing him on the racetrack. So certainly interesting for Burlak, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do if he wants to win the race.
At the current pace he's running at the moment, he's not going to win the race. He'll be lucky to keep himself on the podium at the moment, of course, with the pace that he is showing, which of course is decent enough to at least hold second place for, at least. But as he wants to win the race, he's going to have to really find some more pace in that Crystal Racing car. It's a bit of an average race week far, and the fact that he only qualified 5th and a bit of in the second sector on his Q2 qualifying lap. But then there was a dispute with the race director as to whether he received a penalty or not. It was decided that after some rather clever discussions with the race director that Burlak hadn't gained any time in sector 2 after he cut the chicane, and that in turn, and he keep his 5th place on the racetrack, and that in turn allowed him to try and challenge a bit more for the lead. But still, Lapala still leading now. The gap is now 6 points. So the gap between him and Burlak is 8.5 seconds, so it's still fairly large. It's getting bigger all the time by a few tenths each lap. So I think possibly at the moment, Lapala has the legs on the championship leader, so this will do his championship chances no end.
I tell you, it could be a dark horse though. Tommy Nilsson is probably doing one less stop than these guys. He seems to have a lot more fuel in the bag. So Nilsson, look out for him, because certainly if he's doing one less stop, then Lapala doesn't have a big enough gap on him yet. Wants to beat him, so Nilsson could perhaps get a chance at a win this afternoon.
Tommy Nilsson's 3rd in the championship. He's finished on the podium in the last 2 races. He finished 2nd in Canada after the shenanigans on the last couple of laps, and Tommy Nilsson came 3rd, of course, in Silverstone as well. He could possibly complete a hat-trick of podiums and make it one of each. He possibly use the 3-slot strategy to his advantage, and can he possibly go ahead and win the race? But he's going to have to be careful, because just behind him is the ever menacing presence of Peter Burlak. He's actually closing in slightly. Maybe the smarter strategy with the lighter fuel load is definitely doing some kind of trying to do its work. But for the moment, it's definitely looking good at the moment for Tommy Nilsson. He's definitely holding on. The Burlak itself, I think, possibly, let's look across the line. What is the gap between the two at the moment? The gap is now, it's at 1.4 seconds. He's actually fallen back to Burlak. So I think the lighter fuel strategy is working at the moment for Burlak, but I think possibly if Nilsson has only got to do 2 more stops, that will definitely help him in the long run. Mikko Sorokas has just retired from the race, unfortunately, so another car out of the race. That's now 5 cars we've had out of the race, so it's become a little bit of a car breaker here. Suspension failure again, same as Franz Schneider's car, so I think it's definitely starting to get a bit tougher as the race goes on, and they're heading towards half distance. Gap still 7.5 seconds.
What's really key for Nilsson now is to keep Burlak behind him while he's on these old tyres until his pit stop. If you can keep him behind him, then that's how he can make his strategy work. Because if he gets past him, then they're both equal virtually, because they both have to make 2 more stops. Burlak's done 2, he's got to do 2. Nilsson's done 1, he's probably got to do 2. So what's really key for Nilsson now is he manages to keep Peter Burlak behind him. So this should be a very interesting battle, as Burlak has managed to get right onto him with a fantastic second sector.
Well, and that's not helped. That helped Nilsson not at all. In fact, look, he got very twitchy, very wide on the exit of the second last corner, and that's just all that's done is given Burlak a prime opportunity to sail on the back of his rear wing, and he will pretty much easily take second place down the pit straight. Like Canny from a baby, he goes to the inside of the track, and Luke is braking that a little bit later, and well, I kind of feeling that's a car to hit his curve. He's just lost second place after he mentioned he needs to stay ahead of him. And Peter Belkey's now second. Tommy Nielsen again trying to take that position back, and again he outbrakes himself. But Nielsen's strategy has taken a bit of a nosedive for the moment because he has lost that second place he desperately needs to hold on to. Looks like now at the moment we've got a few more cars that have been lapped, I think. Let's have a look. Yep. Now Lapala's lapped everyone now up to 17th place. But he's now lapped Zoltan Suti, who's now 50th. And Mo Silverage, who's now 16th. So these two are still holding on for the moment. And actually Lapala is just directly behind him. So he'll be coming up to lap them and them soon. The gap between the leaders now is now 9.7 seconds, and Lapala definitely trying to extend the advantage that he has. I think at the moment that it's all looking very, very good, not to risk the commentator's curse once again. Lapala's looking very good to give himself his second ever FSR victory.
Yeah, for sure. It looks good, especially now with Nielsen falling back a bit. And the only thing I can think of is if Nielsen perhaps is doing 2 stops, if he can manage to stretch out a really long middle stint, then maybe he can threaten Lapala there. But it's unlikely because his tyres will probably go off and it will just be useless. Good battle for the 9th position.
Oh, which position, sorry?
9th position between Kunkel and Alberts.
Yes, there we go. Kunkel and Alberts in the back. There's a bit of some dust been kicked up just ahead. I think possibly might have been Nick Fisher in front of them. He carries on his way in 8th. Yes, but as you said, Kunkel, Alberts and now Gautier as well, doing very well in 11th place in his first FSR event for AT Racing Development. Of course, taking the place of Marshall Thomas. Don't know the exact reasons as to why Gautier is in that car and Thomas isn't. But the interesting fact at the moment is that Thomas is actually beating his, I suppose you could call his old team, in the FSR General car. What's interesting is I think possibly, do you think possibly, James, that the changing chassis for Gautier has actually helped them out? Because look at that, because Lapala using the same strategy as Nielsen, the same chassis as Nielsen, same chassis as Berlak, and of course his team at Ullman. So the first 4 cars are all Red Bull chassis. So do you think possibly that is the car to have at the moment?
Well, if it is, then all the other teams better get it pretty quick because it would seem so for sure. I mean, Twister has certainly been very strong, and people have been scratching their heads perhaps as to why. We don't know Berlak, the fantastic driver, but he's been exceptionally strong this year, and perhaps we could have unlocked the answer here. So I guess we'll see, but certainly I wouldn't imagine that many teams would want to stay on a slower chassis, so we'll see what they do over the coming weeks.
Silverline now have both their cars out of the race, unfortunately. We have Mo Salvarage has retired from the race after an accident. That is another unfortunate start to the race weekend for Silverline. Giovanni Ullman heads into the pits and he's making his second stop from what was 4th place. Amanda Morris gone past. In fact, Giovanni just exited the pits, and Morris actually gone past, as we said, into 4th. So only lost 1 place for Giovanni Ullman. He could be quite interesting. That's quite interesting. He's actually wasn't too far behind Peter Berlak either. So I think possibly Ullman could be a dark horse to get himself onto the podium should any of the cars in front of him falter and run into any problems.
Yeah, just looking at Alberts and Kunkel. Kunkel is trying all he can to get in the midst of Alberts and scare him off the track almost, but it's not quite working. Yeah, Alberts is staying strong, managing to keep the position, but certainly this is a good battle for these lower positions that do still pay different points.
Interesting enough, the gap between... hold on, I just said Nilsson's back in front of Berlak. I think we spot the whole camera.
Yeah, Berlak's going back down the inside of turn 1.
Oh, and
there was a bit of
contact. There was, but Nilsson's actually had to let it go again and again. Same situation we had before. And Berlak goes defensive this time. He learns his lesson. And Nilsson has to go around the outside. He got the grip. He might have it into turn 3. Question is, no, he doesn't. And Passari's going out as well. So Passari's out of this race as well. So it's certainly a bit of a car breaker. Is the Hungaroring, but again Nilsson is not letting go of that second place until he needs to get it back. And if he can show the pace he's shown at the moment so far, he'll be able to do it. But that's interesting because Berlak actually pulled away slightly from those cars there. Daniel Van Neet, as we say, that is now in the pits from what was 7th, and just behind Gautier and Kunkel are going side by side into turn 1. But Gautier's got the inside line. He's got past Kunkel, but Kunkel will have the switchback as they go down towards turn 2. This will put Gautier on the inside, but because Kunkel got straight line speed down towards turn 2. Answer is almost a bit of contact, and again another switchback by Kunkel. And again through there, and look at that, oh, and these Gautier, oh, careful, Gautier shoves Kunkel wide, and he keeps on, he takes the eighth position rather forcefully. It's so exciting, I can't even speak properly. And there we go, and Marshall Thomas in the back lane, he surely had made a pit stop as well, he was about 6th or so. Now we're pretty much at half distance now, so we're going to give you another quick rundown of the positions. Villa Palma brilliantly leads this Hungarian Grand Prix from start to finish so far, from the start from pole position, by 13.6 seconds from championship rival Peter Burlak. He does currently lead the championship. Tommy Nelson's, as I think, has just pitted to make his second stop and exits back out in 3rd place. That's good. Apart from losing second to Burlak on track, he hasn't lost anything. Although interesting, behind them, the battle going between 4th and 5th place. I think actually almost just past Mora. He did, looking at the replay, he got him on the pit straight, as there's been so many overtakes been made on that pit straight. And he easily moved down towards turn 1, he easily outbraked him into the first corner. And that is 4th place for Ghost Speed Racing. 1st and 4th for Ghost Speed then. So if anything happens to the likes of Nilsson and maybe even Burlak or Lapala, well, hopefully not Lapala, but if anything happens to Burlak or Nilsson, it could be 2 Ghost Speed cars on the podium this afternoon, as we said earlier on. Sebastiano Filosa has just been lapped, and he's just exited the pits, and he's back out in 13th. But half distance then, just over half distance in this Hungarian Grand Prix. We'll give a quick rundown again of the positions as we were saying. So Lapala is top now by 14.1 seconds from Peter Burlak. Tommy Nilsson 3rd. Then Johnny Oldman, who just took 4th for Armando Mora. Then Nick Fisher 6th. Mark Albert 7th. Bastian Gautier with a very forceful pass on Johannes Kunkel, I think, who has now just pitted. Sebastian Gautier in his first ever race 8th. Marshall Thomas is up there in 9th, the FSI General car, and Danny Van der Neet, who just pitted as well, rounds out the top 10. And also Thomas and Gautier aren't too far ahead of the Dutchman. He could definitely put in a bit of an effort to decrease the gap behind if there's any more battles that are going on. Nick Fisher's in the pit lane from 6th, as is Armando Mora from 5th. This one I'll give, I think, Mark Alberts goes through. And he's gone past Nick Fisher. Gautier's in the pits as well from what was 8th place. He stops. Nick Fisher leaves. And we've now got, I think, is that... But Kunkel and Filosa coming around the last corner for 12th and 13th. They've got Zuti back in pits. And he was 14th. He's staying his strategy. And he's quite way ahead of Bezaroglu, so I think that Zuti will keep ahead in 14th for the moment. Lapala is lapping Gautier as he comes out of the pits. And someone locked up in front of there as well. I couldn't quite see who it was, but I think it may have been... No, I couldn't quite see it at the moment, but right now, it'd be interesting. Also, as to note as well, I just noticed we've only got 1 Twister car in the race, so we've only got... So literally, Burlak is holding up on a 4 the Twister camp, so that's quite interesting. I wonder where his teammate Andreas Nilsson is at the moment, so that should... I think he looks like he's not present this afternoon.
Yeah, we didn't see him at Silverstone either 4 weeks ago, so... Certainly, this could be a worry for Twister. They've got a substantial lead in the Constructors' Championship, but especially with Ghost Speed doing as well, they've got to get a second driver and they've got to get one fast. So Andreas Nilsson isn't going to turn up. I guess he probably... I think he didn't enter at Silverstone. I didn't check the entry list for this race, but certainly a bit of a worry, perhaps, for those guys over at Twitter.
Quick update on your friend Jonathan Holmes there, James. He's back down 17th. He's 2 laps, just been put 2 laps down, unfortunately. So he's definitely putting in a decent effort, and but unfortunately he's having a bit of difficulty. Just behind, I think we've got a battle going on between Gautier and Kolarek down towards this turn 1. Gautier gets the inside line, and Gautier seems to really enjoy overtaking into turn 1, as there's a lot of people. And he's now up to 10th and back into the top 10. Kolarek trying to hold on to him, but I think possibly Gautier's done enough. He's starting to pull away already from Kolarek. This time we also got Kunkel and Filosa battling away for 11th or 12th place. So, and now Nick Fisher's just been there. Look at that, we've got quite a few cars have been put a lap down, I think. Not quite yet, but look at that. The pace that the pole is showing is that how quick he's going at the moment. He's actually lapped everyone up to Gautier. He's next ninth place Nick Fisher, so you can see that out of what was 26 cars, definitely the Parler is exerting his authority quite substantially at the moment, as he's now 14.4 seconds now ahead of Burlak. And if I'm honest, car doesn't seem to do anything about it at the moment. But Burlak's pushing as hard as he dares, but can't really make any inroads on the finished driver in front.
Yeah, Gautier's really impressed me this race. I mean, certainly that was a very forceful move early in the race. He completely ran the other driver out of the room. I forgot who it was.
I think it was Kunkel, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Kunkel, yeah. He completely ran him out of the room. Could have caused an incident, but it was very brave stuff by Gautier, so he's really impressed me. And I think on the strategy he's on, he could be on for a sort of mid bottom of the top 10 finish, so he could be on for 7th, 8th perhaps.
We'll have to keep an eye on it. I think possibly the Parler's just pitted. Well, that's
Kunkel and Pelosa.
Oh, no, sorry, Belak's pitted again. That has let me have a look and see if Lapala and Belak have pitted again. They made their third stops, and that's interesting. Because look at that, Lapala was leaving the pits just as Belak was just stopping. So that's just how much of the losses that Lapala has at the moment.
Massive, isn't it?
And looking back at see just how far behind he is. Well, the gap was 7.5. Now he's got a huge gap. In fact, look at that; it's absolutely massive. Belak now is going to come across the stripe now, and the gap to him is 13.9, so it's come down a fraction, a little bit, but Belak is still quite substantially behind, and Nilsson's now 3rd place, of course, holding on that podium place. Ronnie Ullman's still 4th again, and Armando Mora, Danny Van Der Neet is just pulling away from Marshall Thomas ever so slightly. And Nick Fisher's doing well, and of course we've got Mark Calvert's and then Bastian Gauthier holding out the top 10, so that's not too bad. So it's definitely, we've had so far, we've had quite a bit of action, quite a high attrition rate as well. Sami Passari is the latest car to exit out with another suspension failure, so it seems to be a circuit that's quite tough on the old suspension at the moment.
Yeah, definitely those big curbs definitely affect the cars, especially in the chicane and also in turn number 11. Those big curbs, if you hit them wrong, they can really hurt your car. And also perhaps contact with the drivers too, who knows.
Also noticed as well that Paul Burnett has just left the server because he retired 2 cars before a lap, same lap as Salvarage, and maybe there was contact between the two. Now a lap before Passari, so maybe those 2 were involved in an incident together. I don't know if he's hurt. And also someone else has gone. That's Peter Rogli's gone, and his engine has given up the ghost at turn 2. I've just seen on the replay. That's rather unfortunate for him. Let's quickly see just how the engine blew. And that is him out of the race, fortunately. So look at that, there's quite a few flames. Looks like to be maybe the overshift or something. I'm trying to see exactly what happened. He pulled off the track off at turn 2, and the engine gave out. Where did it give out? I'm trying to see where it gave out here. And it just gave out just towards turn 2, and he had to pull the car off to the side. Lots of flames from the engine at the back of the car, but fortunately that is his race over. So after an impressive qualifying effort, it just all kind of went downhill from there. That's rather unfortunate. So another car is out of the race now. So we've had now, I believe, 9 cars have exited the race out of 26. So it really is, we're seeing itself as a bit of a car-breaking circuit is the Hungaroring, and we've still got 20-odd laps to go. So anything can still happen. If the guy who started 2nd on the grid can spin on the first lap and then go out with an engine failure, it proves that anything can happen. Not that I wish to see anyone like the Parler go out of the race because of any kind of misfortune, because that would be rather heartbreaking, rather cruel. But nonetheless, it is racing, so anything can definitely happen.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate for Reza Roglu after he had such a brilliant qualifying effort to be all wasted in the first half of that lap. It was a really crazy start, and he got shoved wide at turn 1 and then again at turn 2, and then finally I believe at turn 5 this happened and he had a spin. So it's a real shame because he had made an incredible qualifying effort. So we'll have to see how he does next time round, and perhaps he can replicate that.
Well, if you're watching Villa Parler, you see him do one thing which is a very rare sight. You got to see precision car being lapped. That's not something you see very often in FSR, so it's a save at the moment. No, just Kunkel and his team, but of course the Parler is exerting his authority at the front with now a 15.2 second lead. You have to say this race is pretty much sewn up in the bag with about 18 laps to go for the Parler. as we just said, we'll say it again, anything can happen in racing, and it usually does, to quote Murray Walker. But Lepal then on his merry way. Next target to lap is going to be the two AT racing cars who aren't actually that too far ahead. Goate's got about a 4-second gap to his teammate Velosa. Kunkel's only about I'd say that Lepala is only about another 3 or 4 seconds behind Velosa, so that could be quite interesting to see how that develops. The nearest battle launcher, I can't really see many battles going on too far. I think Marshall Thomas is back down in 13th after his pit stop. And we've still got, of course, 17 cars running after 26th start, of course, with 9 retirements. In order that they have been from latest to earliest. Noah says Rogli with end failure. So Pasari with suspension and accident for Marcel Varaja. Suspension for both Paul Burnt and Miko Suokas. Thomas Coriala out with an accident. A straight up DNF for Kevin Clark. And Frank Schneider was out with suspension failure. And Alex Novo out with a DNF as well. So definitely a circuit that's not kind to the car. And again, the Pala just pulling away even more from Bella, now up to 16.4 seconds. Maybe Bella got caught up behind the lap cars he's trying to get through. He's just past Kolarek. I think he's possibly going to try and get past, I think it might be Marshall Thomas. Yes, it is. Marshall Thomas is going to try and get past, to put him another lap down. But we're definitely pushing on. And,
I think the key thing for Burlak is now to just stay consistent. I mean, he shot himself in the foot by taking the same strategy as Lapala, because that means he can't get past him. But having said that, we've seen with Nielsen, it probably is even slower actually to do 3 stops. Probably these tyres are just wearing so much at this high downforce circuit that you have to do more stops to manage to do the race. Burlak, if he's not careful, he could be under pressure from Nielsen actually, because if Burlak's done 3 of the stops now and Nielsen's done 2, but Nielsen should have a lot of to be able to pit quite a lot earlier than Burlak coming to this final stint. He should be able to perhaps get close to him, even make a jump. So Burlak's got to be careful.
Would have thought that Nielsen probably will be into pits in the next, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 laps or so if he's going to stick on the 3-stop strategy, because he's definitely holding stations where he is at the moment. The gap between him and Peter Burlak is currently roughly about 7.7 seconds. So he's holding station there. It's enough for Nielsen to get out in front of Burlak, of course. Then what will then have to happen is that, of course, Nielsen will then have to, with his pit stop then done, because the likes of Lapala and Burlak have now made their penultimate stops. They've still got one more stop to make, of course. Now Nielsen's, of course, has got his final one to make, I'd say, in the next few laps. He doesn't make it just yet. Gaps up to 8 seconds exactly, pretty much. And he's only got a 6.4 second advantage to Giovanni Ullman, the second Ghost Speed car, behind him. And interestingly enough, just behind, we've got Armando Mora and Danny Van Der Neat right in rather close proximity, exactly a second between these two as they head through the final corner. This is interesting. We've got 2 NetRex owned cars. And of course, I'm pretty sure they'll be allowed to battle freely, but of course I think the team boss will be watching on, just hoping, you can do what you want, just don't mess things up. So I think you're hoping secretly that things go to plan and nothing goes too wrong with these two. Also,
yeah, Mora has made quite an amazing race really from where he started. He sort of managed to avoid all the carnage and managed to get the right strategy, it would seem. And he's just motoring on. He's just being in a bit of an island really. There's nobody close to him, nobody too far ahead of him, nobody too far behind him. Now Van Der Neat's managed to catch him, but we'll see what he can do about him, because he's been very steady. He hasn't really made any mistakes that I've seen.
And just behind them, we quickly switch to the battle for 7, because we've now got Fisher with Mark Alberts climbing all over the back of the NetRex Junior car. So we've got NetRex car, ATR Racing Development car, excuse me. It's ATR Racing Development versus GS Racing, and Alberts had a fantastic race this afternoon. I think he didn't have that an impressive qualifying session, either that or he spin somewhere, but nonetheless, Fisher's had Alberts had a fantastic drive through the field. He's up to 8th already, and has eyes on 7th. With very close face right there, up with Albert Fisher to come towards the corner. He goes to the inside line. Will he have enough room? No, he won't. He backs out of it and saves his front wing for another day. And
he seems to be able to pull much tighter to the apex than Fisher can. Fisher, perhaps his tyres are getting a bit warm because he seems to miss most of the apex, whereas Alberts can keep his car right there on that white line on the inside.
Well, Albert stays now right in the toe of Fisher. He's going to have an easy chance to take 7th place from Fisher down the straight, and he's going to be last of a late break into turn 1. Albert has the perfect inside line and what a textbook manoeuvre into turn 1, and Albert's now continues his charge up towards 7th place then. And Daniel Adderley hasn't really got too much closer to Mora, just ahead. But I wonder if Albert's is going to it's already showing just how fresh his tyres are. He's pulling away from Fisher at some rate already. We've now got just ahead. We've got Gautier's down 9th, and just behind we've got Kunkel. In fact, is that? I thought that was the Parlour or someone behind. I think it is actually. Kunkel and Zuti now battling over what is now 11th. Zuti's now moved up on his different strategy, so it looks like Zuti, showing his pace, he's now really pushing on to get himself into the top 10. He could just do it in the next couple of laps, or if not sooner. And he's on the back of the precision car.
It's quite an amazing recovery from Zuti after that incident early in the race with Tommy Nilsson. Certainly in front of his home fans, he'll felt disappointed. So a real good recovery, but hope you can get some solid points here. Sad incident there at turn 4, I believe.
So he's going to go down the outside towards the end of the second, they go through, and Zuti now climbing all over, looking down the inside towards the second to last corner, and a bold move up the inside from the Hungarian. He passes the German Kunkel into the second to last corner, and a wonderful pass, but now the shoe's on the other foot because now Kunkel has a run onto the pit straight. This would be now an easy switch back for Kunkel, depending on how hard Zuti defends. Down towards the turn 1, he's right up on towards the pit wall. Look at that, that's extreme defending from Zuti. Moves back across, and Kunkel, will he break later than Zuti down towards turn 1? Answer is, they both break as late as each other, and Zuti holds on. Oh no, Kunkel's off! Kunkel spins, you've got 2 Eagles on the throttle on the exit of turn 1, and Kunkel noses it into the barrier on the exit of turn 1. That's going to destroy his race. He's 11th, and here comes Kolarek, he's going to take 11th place, and he goes past. And Kunkel's out. Kunkel has now possibly stalled the engine, and that is his race over. That's a shame. But he was looking so strong. What a battle he was having with Zuti, but that is now his race over. And that's an unfortunate start of the weekend for position as well, because that is his car out. I'm pretty sure, hopefully, that in the World Series later on tonight and the World Championship tomorrow, they'll have better efforts, but unfortunately, that is his race over.
Yeah, he lost a wheel there when he nosed into the inside wall. He was just too eager on the power, okay. And he also had the curb underneath him as he was trying to run a little bit to the outside of Zuti to try and get some clean air to the nose. And probably that rumble strip there is what sort of unsettled the car and caused it to spear off to the left and straight into the wall.
We're just seeing that Johan Yeoman's just gone out from the pits from what was 3rd place, fourth place. Oh, and Nilsson, I think Nilsson's lagging a little bit on my screen, but nonetheless, in 3rd place is still going strong. And there we go. So I was looking at the replay. There we go. That's better. Now then, final stops are going to be made pretty much very soon. I'm pretty sure that Lapala and Berlak will be out back in the pits very, very soon. And I'm not quite sure if Nilsson's...
to cover off Nilsson.
I'm not quite sure if Nilsson stopped already. I think
I think I just saw him stop.
Okay, well if he has, then that has now put Nilsson, I think, possibly into the prime seat to possibly take second from Berlak. The gap is about 8 seconds or so. I'm not sure, but we'll have to keep watching and wait and see. In fact, the gap is now it's now up to 12 seconds. So Berlak's been pulling away from the GT Omega driver, but at the same time, the Par's been pulling away from him. So we're just going to watch the Par this time. There's now about 13 or so laps to go. And here comes the Par. Does he head into the pit? No, he doesn't. He carries on. Now what about Berlak? He's now exiting the second sector. The gap's now up to 18.2 seconds. So you can see that the Par absolutely flying, and he has the measure of Berlak behind him. Berlak now heads around the final second to last corner. Does he pit yet? Is that Zuti back in the pits? I think Zuti's gone back into the pit lane. He has. Is that a problem with Zuti? I'm not quite sure. Recently we just saw him stop. But I think that's probably another scheduled stop for him, I think. Possibly. Apologies for that. And Parlour carries on. What about Tommy Nilsson? Tommy Nilsson carries on. I can see that. Of course, maybe made his last stop. Johnny Allman up to 4th.
Maybe Allman I saw pitting. Because he did a 1:35 on his last lap, so I guess that's probably a pit stop lap.
Yeah, I think we did that. Johnny Allman had just pitted from 4th. I think that's possibly cemented his position there, which is a decent effort nonetheless. Morris still 5th. Mark Alberts is now still 6th. What a drive he's put in for 6th place. He had a fantastic drive through the field. And whoa, hold on a minute. Tommy Nilsson's out. Tommy Nilsson is out. Now, I've just seen him flashing on my screen. He's had an accident. And what's happened? I couldn't quite see it, but Tommy Nilsson's out of the race.
A strange crash into turn 1.
I think I see what's happened. Could you see what happened at all?
Yeah, it looked like a brake failure or something like that down into turn 1. He cut the corner straight across the grass and he went straight into the outside wall. He didn't even attempt to slow down. Looks like a failure on the car of some sort, but he's out of the race and that puts Alman up into the podium position. Well,
we did say, of course, that it's going to be a circuit tough on brakes. So that any misfortune from the cars in front, Joanne will put the Ghost Speed cars first and third on the podium, and that's happened just now. Look at that. Also, the pilot's just made his final stop, and Burlak is now going to make his final stop as well. He's just pitting as well. Also, so is Gautier Fisher. They're going to go side by side out of the pit lane, and so they can get it. Fisher just gets it out of the pits from Gautier. So Burlak is now pitting. So that moves everyone up another place, and this puts, as we said, Joanne on 3rd. Amanda Morrow takes 4th. Vanderleet has gone up to 5th now. Alberts now takes 6th. 7th is now Nick Fisher. 8th is now Gautier. 9th is now Kolarek. And amazingly, Zoltan Suti is just there ahead of the exiting Peter Burlak from the pits. Zoltan Suti's up to 10th after his misfortunes on the first couple of laps after that incident with Tommy Nilsson.
Yeah, apparently Tommy Nilsson's pedals broke, as in not as anything to do with the virtual cars, and his actual pedals broke.
Wow.
And that's what happened. It did look like some sort of a failure because he just went straight on as if he couldn't stop. But, well, really incredible turn of events, and a terrible shame for Tommy Nilsson.
Also someone else. Oh no, 2 cars have gone. Gautier's gone, so it's Filosa. I don't believe this. Sebastian Gautier's engine fails, and at the same time Sebastiano Filosa's out of the race as well. So both of the 80 Racing Development cars have retired on pretty much the same lap. What is going on here? We've had 3 retirements in space of 2 laps. This is unbelievable.
The attrition rate of this track is absolutely incredible, and this has certainly got to be worrying the leaders, Lepala and Burlak. And we've seen Lepala has actually slowed down a lot. He's lost around 5 seconds to, well, having said that, he's just set the fastest sector-free time in the entire race. But he's lost about 5 seconds of the last 2 laps to Peter Burlak, so perhaps he's seen this and he's slowing down, or maybe a problem with live timing actually, because it's gone back up to 18.1. But certainly if they haven't seen this, they've got to, and they've got to perhaps slow down a little, because it seems suspension, engines, even your own pedals, everything's breaking here at the Hungaroring. They've got to be wary of that. They've got to make sure they manage to finish.
I'm really surprised that one of the drivers retires after breaking his own leg, and the kind of things that are going wrong at the moment this afternoon. But still, that's amazing. So we've now got, I believe, look at that, half the field is out of this race with either suspensions or engine failures or accidents or other such failures. So literally, we've got hardly any cars left. We'll be lucky to have probably at least 5 cars finishing the race before the end of the checker flag comes out. Lepala has now just lapped his team at Mark Alberts, who obligingly got out of the way, and Lepala is now heading towards the line to go towards 9 laps to go. 44 laps completed, 9 to go. And it's pretty much had everything in this race now. Everyone's now been lapped amazingly up to Mark Alberts. So look at that. So the next target is now only 2 cars up the road now. Is then Danny Vanderleet and Amanda Morrow. So when it looks like at this rate that Lepala will lap these 2, he'll have lapped everyone apart from the 3 drivers on the podium, which is of course himself. You can't lap yourself. Peter Burlak is now 19 seconds behind Lepala, and also Giovanni Ullmann. Now Kolarek has just stopped from 10th place. He's now off the jacks, and he's now off he goes. Now he's way ahead of Edouard Corre, so it looks like Kolarek is going to hold on to a really nice 10th place. Good stuff from both Thomas and Kolarek, who are both driving, I suppose, 2 independent cars who are going to get themselves into the points. And Gautier showing on our screen, of course, is 13th. Okay, no, actually, that's correct. There's only 12 cars in the field, because the 13th downwards, it's all kind of cut around the race. So that's it's rather bizarre events of today's race, I have to say. Look at that, but literally that's a gutting for 80 Racing Development, because both cars retired on the same lap.
That's incredible.
That reminds me of when back in 2005 in Formula 1 at the Malaysian Grand Prix, both VARs suffered exactly the same engine failure on the same lap, literally from about 4 corners from each other. I think I remember Button's engine expired first, and then Anthony Davidson, who was sitting in for Takuma Sato, who had fever that day, race, Davison's engine expired literally about 4 corners later, which is absolutely incredible. But not a good start for AT Racing development, I can tell you that now. What's amazing is that your buddy, buddy Jonathan Holmes, is still going. He's 2 laps down, but he's still in 12th.
Yeah, he's managed to pick up more points than 10th. He's got 11 points in that 12th position. That's excellent for him. Also, I remember in Malaysian Grand Prix, I believe it was with the 2 McLarens, David Coulthard and another one, perhaps Kimi or Mika. I remember they both retired on around the same lap, in the same circumstances as well. So it just seems to, the chances are very much against it, but it just seems to happen every now and again. And it's really unfortunate. It must be really gutting.
Well, as the race comes into its closing stages, of course, we've seen it before in World Trophy, but even the bizarrest things can happen. I keep saying that, but of course it's true because we've seen pretty much everything happen today. Quickly running down there with, as you said, just again with the order, as we go with just less than 10 laps to go. Now Villa Parla leading by 20 seconds. The championship leader Peter Burlack. Third is Ronnie Ullman to make it 2 Go Speed cars on the podium at the moment. We come at now Armando Mora and in 4th, ahead of Danny Van Der Neet. Then we have Mark Alberts in 6th place closing in. 7th is now Nick Fisher. Zoltan Suti has resolved the retirement, is up to 8th place now, after his pretty crazy afternoon. 9th is Marshall Thomas, as we said, and 10th is Antonio Kolarek. And the only 2 cars that are still running are Edouard Corey and 11th, and of course we said John Hull and Pols. This is the first race for SJ Racing, and even though it's been slow and steady is winning the race at the moment, which is in terms of finishing the race, if that makes sense. But we'll leave that metaphor and move on to something else. But,
to finish first you must finish.
Absolutely, never a truer word said. Absolutely right, James. Like I said, but obviously Jonathan Holmes doing the best he can. He's 3 laps down, but still met the finish. And no matter how many laps down he is, he's done a very credible effort to at least put the car into the one, and to at least get it to this stage in the race. Hopefully he will be able to make it to the finish, which should be pretty encouraging for the rest of his season if he decides to run for the rest of the season. Of course, we're coming up to the half point in the season. Had a pretty impressive run of victories from Peter Burlack. Of course, 1 victory from Bill Parla, and if everything stands as it is right now till the end of the race, it will be a second one for Bill Parla. But well, I can't really predict what's going to happen because, as I said, we've had this many cars retire and these many things happen. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next, to be honest.
Yeah, mate, very suspicious. Could still be a battle for the 4th position because Van Der Neet is catching very slowly to Mora. So that one could still be interesting. Apart from that, it's going to have to be, I guess, failure of a part or the car in order for the top 3 positions to change, because Lapala has 20 seconds back to Burlack, then Alman is 25 seconds back from Burlack, and then Mora is 29 seconds back from Alman. So that's really spread out across the top 3 or 4, but then certainly bunches up a little bit more down in the bottom half of the top 10.
What could be an interesting factor is that also we've got Villa Parla is actually closing in to lap both Mora and Van Der Neet, and I think Mora just went quite wide in the middle of the 2nd sector. They go out of into the final sector now as they head through. Van Der Neet has closed up a little bit, I think possibly because it was Mora making a mistake, as I saw on my screen. Now Van Der Neet goes a bit too deep into the 2nd to last corner, and you can see the Lapala, if you're watching this on the screen here, just in the background. And look down the field to see what else is going on here. I think Burlack's just about to lap Nick Fisher, I believe, and he's got quite a way to go to lap Mark Alberts as well, so I think really Burlack's going to reside to his space in some cases, and just they're going to hold on to 2nd place, and just see what it can do. It's not really been a massive charge. He had a fairly tish race with him. He had a bit of a battle, of course, with Tommy Nilsson. But apart from that, he's not really done anything too spectacular, but apart from spectacular, of course, Tommy Nilsson retiring from the race in 3rd place. What was a certain 3rd place is Nick Fisher, obligingly moves out of the way. And someone else's engine's gone, his Suti engine's gone! I don't believe it! Another engine goes, this time it's Zoltan Suti, and it burst into flames at the 2nd to last corner. So another car is out of the race, and we're now down to 11 cars left in the field. It would be lucky to even get 10 if we're this rate, if we've got engines going left, right and centre.
Yeah, I guess there's so many gear changes, and there's so many times you have to slow down, accelerate, slow down, accelerate. There's no particularly long straights on this track. There's no way that they can get up to really high revs. I guess it's just the amount of gear changes and amount of accelerating and decelerating that's really hurting these engines, because I can't think of anything else.
Well, that's pretty incredible. And hold on a second, I'm gonna get some of the. I thought someone just changed my. It's just come back again. What's interesting is that now, actually, I'm looking at this. I think Aka's better going to lap the cars in front of him.